Ruckus. Thanks for helping out. I appreciate you. Hey, Bearded. Glad you made it. How's it going? Share it out for me, okay, guys? I'm sure you're already doing that. I really should have more faith. Trying to get a bunch of people in here. See what we can... Oh, that's what I can get. Hey, Deadly, how are you? No, this is a very specific live for a very specific reason, Deadly. This is, and hopefully Kaylin is here around seeing it. Yeah, yes. Uh-oh. Okay, Kaylin will be here in about 5 minutes. No, this is, and please stay around, Deadly, because we are talking to another 3D printer, but we're talking to Kaylin today. This is the first episode of my She's IT live. Also, is the picture and sound okay? I decided to change places in my room. Yeah, she just texted me. She said she's on her way in 5 minutes. Okay, good. Awesome. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. I'm so glad. I'm so excited to do this. I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun. Yes, all the shares, please. All the shares. Let's try to get a, excuse me, sir, did you decide to play in a box of paper because I was on a live and now everybody can hear you crinkling all the paper? Salem is Saleming today. Come here. Come here. Come here. You're selling your P1P. Oh my. Why? Just don't want it anymore? Getting something else? I really didn't think this shirt through. Let's see. I'm going to turn, maybe get some more purple there so you can read it easier. Oh, look at my shirt. Does everybody love my shirt? I know it's hard to read. It's backwards, but it says, I code like a girl. Try to keep up. Oh, bills. Yeah, well, there's bills. That's a whole thing, isn't it? I like it too. It's my favorite color too. I thought it was very appropriate for today. I actually bought, okay, I probably told you guys this already, but I actually bought 4 shirts for this series. You couldn't keep up? Welcome everybody. Our guest today will be here in just a few minutes. Also, I've got this code.org donation link here, so certainly feel free to donate to that if you feel so inclined. Oh, good Lord. Salem, if you could stop Saleming today, come here. He's a crazy one. Code.org focuses a lot of times on underrepresented demographics within IT as a whole. He's being crazy. He knocked like 5 things off the shelf for no reason. He's just being crazy. Ooh, sorry guys. That cough has not gone away yet. I'm waiting for it to leave. I don't want it anymore. But anyway, code.org actually focuses on underrepresented different demographics, and one of those is women in the IT field. So, yeah, I don't know. Somebody should definitely do that, though. Although, Lolcats is already a coding language, so. I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you guys to be here today. Oh, somebody's being not nice. But yeah, code.org does wonderful things. So certainly if you feel so inclined, that would be amazing. Caster, how's it going? It was you. What was you? You did a thing? Oh, you were the comment. Oh, okay. Well, then it wasn't too bad. It was probably something silly. Oh, there he is. I swear, if you knock my dragon periodic table down, I swear. What? You want to be in the live too? Look, there he is. He's in the live now. Say hello. Okay, go play. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, I guess, well, that's a weird word for it. Well, no, I guess I understand. I kind of get it. Although I call myself that all the time. Maybe I should stop. You think that's bad? Salem, leave the tripod alone, sir. You're supposed to be better. Oops. Can be a slur. Well, you know. I do say often that context is everything. We're just so definitely be a little easy on us, mods. If you can do me a favor, if people ask questions that are specifically like related to or for Kaylin, can you do me a favor and pin them so that I definitely see them? If you know how to pin a comment. Hopefully you can do that. Can you practice on one of these that are here already? These comments? Kaylin! Yes, perfect. Thank you. Yay, Kaylin. Hi.
Hi. So sorry.
No.
But I can talk on without my video for a few more seconds.
Okay.
I had in my head Sunday the 20th. I was like, oh, today is the 20th. But hello, happy Saturday.
Hi, yeah, happy Saturday. I'm so excited to do this.
Me too. I've been thinking about it all week. Should have double
Like your
checked.
shirt? Really?
Okay, I'm almost set up. Also, hopefully I look okay because I'm doing that whole like don't wash your hair, and hopefully it's like trained to be less greasy. So we'll see how it looks.
You like the shirt?
I love it. I love this shirt.
I know it's backwards. Like I can't. When I mirror it, it throws me off. Like it, I don't know why. I don't like mirroring the thing, and I'm like, well, everybody's gonna have to read backwards then.
I haven't even figured out how to try mirroring the thing, but maybe someday.
Yeah. I hate it. Every time I do it, I'm like, no, that feels weird. I don't like
Not like that.
because I'll try to move in a specific way for the screen, and then it's backwards, and then I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So.
Okay, I'm almost ready. Oh, almost.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be great. That'd be great. Bearded, if you wanna. I'll just get on just a PM, and you can just throw them at me in Discord. That way, I don't miss them. Why am I on TikTok? That's not what I was looking for. That'd be fantastic.
Okay. I'm like here. So sorry.
No, you're fine. All good. So I guess do you just want to start out and just sort of introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I wonder if like everybody here, I don't know. Part of me thinks everyone here already knows who I am, but I don't think that's true. Maybe like half don't, but I am Kaylin. Very new to TikTok 3D printing space. I joined in like, I would say I had like a shadow account probably in the summer last year where I would just like sit and follow people's posts, and that's how I sort of found like lols and then 3D printing community period. But I didn't start posting until like end of September and October, so still quite new to all that. But I have been 3D printing for almost a year in total before I joined here, and then prior to that I have been a software engineer since like professionally since like 2012ish. And I probably got my first job at like 2009, so a while. Software engineering, that's what I actually do.
I just realized this recently. Okay, so like, I've been in IT over a decade. So have you. Like, yeah. It's been over a decade, and I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, I feel like I just graduated like last year.
Wait, yeah, that is a while.
Yeah, Kaylin's been IT for a while.
But yeah, I don't know. Does everybody know you, buddy?
I don't know. I think a lot of people do for sure. But I can introduce me too. So my name's Buddy, and I've been in IT for over a decade, like we just said. I work currently for a very large company. I usually keep the company name out of things though. So, but I work with many different types of coding, and then I 3D print as a hobby on the side, and I have me a nifty little website where I sell my 3D prints. Kaylin does as well. Her stuff is cooler than mine for sure, hands down.
Oh, hey, Alan. I think I saw maybe Grim as well. Hello. Should I keep going with all the random things I've done? Like,
yes, absolutely. Okay. We want to know all the things.
More things, then we can figure out which parts to talk about. But the general history. So I grew up in Pennsylvania and went to Penn State. So I was there, until I was like, I don't know, 22 or something. But studied computer science and psychology, and that was sort of my like segue into. It's probably not too surprising that I do like programmatic astrology stuff now, because I feel like that literally is like computer science and psychology in another form. But that's what I studied. I then I worked for a bank for most of my career, and I did defensive contracting first. So I did a lot of C programming and embedded systems, and obviously it was pretty hardware related. So I did like sensors and radios and night vision goggles, and I got a job accepted a job even working for, I was going to work on the UI for tanks for the military, like one of the research companies. And then after accepting the job, I was like, tanks are kind of like violent. And I had sort of this like, it's not quite the same as like a radio system. So then I rescinded that and went into banking because I thought banking's pretty miserable. Might as well try working on fixing some of that tech, and spent a lot of time doing that. So I went from C programming to Go, if people have heard of it. I also did a little bit of Java, but I never liked it. Still do not like it. But I picked up Go. Got kind of lucky where I started learning that language in like 2013, 2014. The language was really new. So I was able to get pretty senior in the language pretty fast because there just wasn't a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what was lucky is like the Go programming language was written by a lot of very senior engineers, period, but also a lot of like senior DevOps engineers. So I got to learn a lot about actual like system setup and architecture and all that kind of jazz. Sort of luckily from really, really senior people. Yeah, it is lucky. It's kind of lucky. They weren't really using Go in 2014. I worked in like a lab unit in Capital One, and they were like, pick the best language for the project. And I like went through and I tested, some JavaScript, some Python, Scala I tried out. And I was like, well, Scala's a literal nightmare. And then I went from Scala to Go. And I think that's part of where I became like very fanatical about Go, because I think going from Scala, which is this like anything goes, very individualistic language, to Go, which is a pretty simplistic language and is very oriented towards like, it's kind of hard to do a terrible job in Go. There's a lot of guide rails, and there's a lot of, at the time, really novel ways to make code look simpler and like the same, even if different people worked on it. And I had enough Java experience to be like, you know what? Let's like not let people do what they want to do, and let's just like let people write the same code. So I fell in love with Go, and that sort of became like my whole identity for probably like 5 years. I was like, this is the best language. So I spent forever at Capital One advocating for it. And at the same time, I was living in DC, and I started this community called Women Who Code. I've done both of them. Women Who Code in DC. It's like a larger initiative. It's like across the actually it's global now, but I started the chapter local to DC, and was also very fanatical about like running meetups. I had a whole thing where a lot of the women oriented meetups in DC were like design oriented, and I found that infuriating.
Yeah, I agreed, absolutely. It is kind of funny because we talked about this when we were talking about doing this, and you were in DC doing that at the same time that I was in DC working for the FCC, which I found kind of interesting that we could be in DC's obviously a huge place, but the fact that I didn't hear about it, and then later find the person who actually started that chapter, and I'm like, why didn't I know it existed? We could have been friends years ago.
We did cover though, Buddy's commute was too long. My printer just finished. My dog still thinks the printers are like construction units, so she's like monitoring them. She's like, the print just finished. You got to go check it out. But yeah, we did cover that your commute was long, so I think that was the main reason. Cool.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because we lived out in Gaithersburg, so it was an hour and a half.
For like also doing meetups after work, because that's when they all were.
Right. That would have been rough, and of course I've got all these kids and all this stuff going on, so that's probably what happened, is that I just didn't have any time to look into anything, but but I just thought it was kind of funny that we were there pretty much the same time doing different things, and just never, and then we meet here later.
What flavor of tech were you doing in DC?
So I was in DC. It was mainly DevOps stuff. So building. I don't know if you've heard of Elastic Bamboo, right?
Well, actually, no, but I heard of it from you when we talked. So now I have heard of it.
I was setting up environments there, and like doing connections from Jenkins to all kinds of different things, and like I worked a lot with curl, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of the. I don't know, it's like a workflow software that we worked with. I went to a whole training thing about it's not I'll figure it out. I'll remember it in 20 minutes when this is totally off the subject.
You can bring it up then, though.
Yeah, I'll bring it back. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, no, I think if Crafty's still in here, I think Crafty does DevOps now too. So there's a good amount of it. But I know enough DevOps now. I've used a lot of AWS, and I would say I like it. I mostly like it because I like to be able to get stuff done. So it's nice to have those skills. But it's even nicer if somebody else will manage it because it's so many details, and it's always like the tiniest little. Like you change one variable or you change the like capitalization of something and now game over, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, so DevOps is always a little nightmarish to me.
So, another thing I find interesting that I didn't pick up on in the conversation before, you said you hate Java.
Oh yeah, I try not to emphasize that too much. I'm sure.
I'm just gonna tell you, it hurts my little heart a little bit because I specialize in.
That's fine. So you can take it all. You can.
I can have all.
Like,
Well, then we'll just do it that way. You just shovel all the Java off to me.
Yeah.
And also, I actually worked in a company for 2 years writing Scala.
No
however
way.
you say it.
Okay, I just went through a whole
And
list.
it makes you feel any better. Even though that is a flavor of Java, I hated it also. Just so we're clear. It is awful. You do not lie about that. It's awful.
Yeah, it's a really rough language. But I've heard better things about Kotlin. So if I were to pick up again, I'd probably do that. But I mean, I still have to write Java every now and then. It's hard to avoid. But
Yeah, you totally.
I don't know if we literally want to talk about like programming language paradigms, but like I could. And, like, I do have.
There are some. Okay, because I write COBOL, and if there probably are people out there that really love COBOL, but I do not. It's not my.
That's the case. But actually, yeah, we did cover that, and I didn't even bring it up. I did right out of college. I did spend like a year and a half writing COBOL, and I was talking about that with Buddy, and she's like, "Me too," and I'm like, "That's really
crazy.
weird. That's way
Yeah.
weirder than both being in DC at the same time."
So-
I do not write it anymore though, but after like a year and a half, some of my coworkers started calling me a COBOL queen, and that's when I left the team, and I was like, "I'm not writing
Nope,
this
I'm done.
again."
I would not.
I did deploy once a COBOL API into AWS and it worked. So like I did write like a little API that like said like hello world. But so I guess I've written a little bit of COBOL since then, but no, not really.
Zoid wanted, and Zoid, I did see your question, I promise. Zoid wanted to know what got us both into the fields that we got into. So I'm gonna let you go first, and then I'll take over.
Yeah, I sort of stumbled into it in high school. I got really lucky where it was like 2000, probably like 6-ish. My high school did have programming classes. So they had like Visual Basic and then they had a Java class. And I had always been math oriented. So I did a lot of like, I did some like architecture classes. The last time I did CAD was in high school, but I am like, I've done CAD. I did think I would have more memory of it when I started doing 3D printing last year. And I like pulled up Fusion 3D and I was like, this sucks. Like, I was like, I don't know anything. But so I came in a little overconfident, but I did do it in high school, like 1,000 years ago. But yeah, they had a programming class and I took it with a friend. It was, I don't know, do you know Visual Basic? Have you heard of that as like a language? It was like Microsoft Visual Basic. So my friend and I took it thinking it was going to be like a really easy Microsoft PowerPoint class. Like, here's how you use Word. And like, we walked into the class and we were like, what the hell is this? And I'm not sure what got us to both stay in the class after that. But, okay, yeah, so it was like the same thing. But we did stay. We had like a fun teacher. And I liked it a lot. And then, so that was my junior year. And then senior year, there was some like career development class and they did like it was like personality things where they're like, what job works for you? And they had programmer on my list. And I think it was at the top. And it also had the highest salary. So I was like, okay, I'll do that.
I'm gonna do that.
And that was the whole like logic behind it. And that is what got me through college because there were points in college where I was like, I should probably drop out. This really sucks. And I didn't because I was like, the salary is high. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah, people, I've gotten that, I'm sure everybody that is in IT gets this, but people are like, oh yeah, you must love the money. And don't get me wrong, the money's great, right? But I was always like, it's sort of a perk, right? Because you get into it and you enjoy doing it. And that's just sort of it helps you to like continue with it even when it gets really hard. Like that's what the money did for me, at least. I can't speak. I mean, it sounds like that's what it did for you too, is like, but the money. You know?
It definitely kept me in. I do think at the time going through things, I'd be like, I'm here because it pays well and I like that. But having done other stuff now, I do realize that programming is part of it too, where I love the logic problems and I love the like complexity. I really do like working on like high scale distributed systems. So that is actually with Go. That's where I ended up. That was like sort of the end of this story. I can tell my dog is working up about something. Is Go works really well if you've got a lot of requests. So I would end up doing like millions of requests per second, or like, I think I was doing like 200 gigabytes per second in peak volume and stuff. And that I love. So I love those kind of problems. And the thing that I like, not so much about DevOps, but I do like being able to reverse engineer what's wrong with your app. So I love this.
Yes. I have a friend, and I was hoping she would join, but I have a friend that in college, I would create an app for, a mobile app when I was in my mobile classes. And I would hand it to my toddlers, and my toddlers could not break it. But I could hand it to this friend, and she would certainly break it for me. Like every time, like I'm gonna have this. If you can't break this, then it's good code, right? Like I would start by testing it with my toddlers, but then I would give it to her because she could break stuff my toddlers couldn't. So.
That means you've got like 90 or couldn't break it. That means like 95%, or maybe even 99% of people wouldn't. That's a really good test rate.
What's funny is that she's also in IT. Like she does this too, but she could break my code when other people couldn't. And I was just like, I don't know. I was like, how did you break this? And she's like, I don't really know.
Those are the most dangerous people. Yeah. They will click everything in any order.
Yes, yeah. Well, and it's great, right? Because the user does not use your code the way you expect the code to be used in the end anyway. So I apologize for my voice and the cough.
User systems. I was always on the back end. I did some user facing stuff, but I didn't love that either. I was like, this sucks. Well, I mean, back end systems.
Yeah, I mostly do back end. I don't really do like any forward facing stuff. But I mean, a user can mess up the back end if you're not careful with your. I mean, but okay. So I got started. This is probably going to be a little strange to people. So when I was little, I wanted to be a doctor. I did not want to do computer stuff. Computers didn't interest me. Of course, when I was little, computers weren't really that big either. So there's that. But I actually wasn't until I was a teenager. My uncle, he programmed for a company in Nashville. And I don't know if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving anyway, it was some family gathering. He was like, hey, I think you're probably the only person that I know in our family that could do this the same way I do. And hey, look at this. And isn't this cool? And and it really was. And I was super interested about it, and then a whole lot of things happened in my life between that moment and the moment that I decided to actually do this for a living, because I was really interested and I loved it. But I wanted to, I had a lot of things going on that made me feel like I couldn't. I had a child very young and a whole bunch of family issues, so I felt like I just couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I married my husband in 2010. But before that, he said, he came in one day from work, and because we had 3 kids and we were sort of struggling, as you do when you have 3 kids and 2 people with no degrees, no, higher level jobs running around. And he came in one day and he sort of tossed the bank card at me like Gambit. He was like, he's like, I put this much money, which I think at the time was like $15 or $25. And he's like, go apply to start going to college. So he was really sort of a catalyst for me being like, okay. And it's been like that since I met him, by the way. He's the reason I have my GED, because I didn't think I had time for that either, or couldn't manage that either. So he's always kind of pushed me a little further and said, hey, you can do this. I know you can do this. I've met you before. Just go do it. So he's always sort of the catalyst for how I gained the confidence to actually do the things I wanted to do in the first place. So he tossed that at me and said, hey, so I didn't actually start learning to code until I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I've come quite a ways from there. I got my bachelor's degree, and then I turned around and got my bachelor's degree is in computer science, just sort of general software engineering, computer science type stuff. And then my master's degree is in cybersecurity. So like I've come quite a long way, and I work for a relatively large company. I don't work in security. I work on a software engineering team doing software engineering, but also I'm sort of the team liaison between our team and security. Does that make sense? Like anytime a security thing comes up, they're like, oh, Bonnie will do that. Yeah. She can do that. That's her.
That's the perfect role for you.
So Crafty Labs wanted to know if we can talk more about distributed systems and where you were working with were you working with any containers or stacks specifically?
Yeah, I think Crafty, you work with Kubernetes, right? I have managed to avoid Kubernetes, although at some point, I've done little tests with it. But actually, so Kubernetes is almost all written in Go, and it was one of the early Go projects, so probably like 2015-ish it became really popular. I personally, I'll just use Docker containers and throw those up, and on AWS use like ECS for a lot of systems, or Lambdas if we just didn't need the whole container setup. But so Kubernetes came up in 2015, and a bunch of the people were really active in the Go community, so you'd see them at conferences and knew a few of them. But Kubernetes pretty quickly became like the cautionary tale of when Java engineers switched to Go and like what you want to avoid. And not so much that like, it's not that Java engineers were bad. It was actually that Java engineers were quite senior, and so they'd come over to Go and want to replicate the paradigms in Java to Go one-to-one. And because it's a different language, it would work because Go's it'll run, but you would see where it would crack. And then over time, a lot of the issues with Kubernetes, you can just stick the 8 in Kubernetes, and then you can just be like, whatever, it sort of is somewhere in there. But a lot of the cracks in the system they've been working on to refactor, but I always kind of avoided it because I just sort of knew that on the back end, everybody in the Go community was like, their code needs a lot of work. So I haven't used that too much, but I just do a lot of Docker and throw things up on ECS containers and stuff like that. Maybe the most interesting container thing I've used, I need to think of it, Local Stack. I don't know if you've used Local Stack, Crafty. It's Local Stack. It's Local Stack. I loved them because I would use those all for building distributed systems, and I'd have 5 to 15 services all running, but you could spin them up locally on your computer, and they replicated everything in AWS. So I don't know if you've checked them out, but that's probably one of my favorite tools that I've used.
I haven't. I work with, I don't really work with, so the work that I do currently, there's not a lot of actual stacks, not stacks anybody would understand, but it's sort of more modular and more I don't even know how to describe it. Most of it is sort of modularized code, and it works in. So one of the big systems I work in is a system called Lawson, and I don't know if anybody has ever heard of that, but it's basically modular COBOL is what it is. It's Micro Focus COBOL, and it's built on top of this base layer of Lawson as the application, and then you just build individual bits and pieces to stick in. So, and then the other things that I do are also Lawson related usually. The only recognizable thing that popularly recognizable thing that I work with is I do a lot of C# and .NET, and I also have I have a couple. I have an ASP.NET application. I have a few of those, but that's as close as I get to normal generally.
I have always thought about doing a talk on, it always kind of bothered me where all the new terms that pop up, distributed systems, microservices, are really just rebranded versions of good programming practices that programmers always knew about. So that's kind of cool with Lawson. I feel like that would be a really good example of good programmers always broke up their code. This isn't a new thing, but It always sort of irritated me when like San Francisco guys would be like, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And you're like, "Yeah, actually." That's like
Yeah,
always
like actually, that's kind of normal. I mean, if you don't do it that way, you're probably
yeah,
doing it
yeah.
wrong, to be honest with you. We
But
certainly don't want all our code in one file. Thank you very much.
right. Although I did work with systems of COBOL that were all one file, and so it was pretty rough actually.
And let me tell you, we have some of those modules that could be entire like
Yeah.
sets on their own. Like
It was
there's
actually
like
really
3,000 lines, or I don't know, in one file, and you're just like, why? Why are we doing this?
yeah.
It's a nightmare to read.
But I've seen
Um,
that in Scala too, so
yeah,
it's
yeah, that job was. I was like, when I finally left, I was like, I'm so glad to be rid of that. I'll never do that again. And I did a lot of focusing on Java in school. That I had a lot of focusing on Java and C++ and C Sharp in school. And I did for my master's. I taught C++ to folks who'd never seen code before, so that was always fun. They were like, "What is this? I don't know what I'm doing."
a rough first language.
Yeah, it is. But I'll tell you, I mean, honestly, it is rough to start with, but I feel like it is, it's sort of clear, right? Like it's very clear in the, logical structures, data structures are very, like it's sort of it's a huge, obviously, but it's made up of such small parts that you can digest little individual things in that a little bit. One thing that I always tried to make sure that people knew, especially people new to coding, is that the part that we're learning, what we're learning here, will not be what you learn out there. Like, you're just starting here. This is just the baseline, right? Like, this is like being in kindergarten learning your ABCs. Like that you're not out there. There are going to be words with 53 letters. Like like, you're gonna have to figure it out later.
You sound like
We're
you would be a
just
great teacher. Like really good at that.
well, yeah. I just want to. I think it's important to tell
There we go,
people.
Nubs. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Okay, so it can be, it really can be, and I think one thing that the school that the school that I went to, which is Austin Peay State University here where I live, they do a really good job of, even though you're starting in a language that is way harder, they do a very good job of all of your beginning programming classes have a lab, right? So you go to your beginning program class and then you go to the lab, and the person in the lab, which is what I taught, is there to help you sort of get in line with it, You're not left to your own devices to figure it out. You have somebody that's there that's like, okay, yeah, we can cover this in in an easier format and get you there. So
Yeah, I believe that, but actually, like what Nubs said, I just had a flashback where part of where I was like in college, I was like, it's the money that's getting me through. I think the reason I was so fixated on the money was because of the C++ classes. I was like, this is a nightmare. Like, I
It
do not
probably
like
was.
this at all. So it was those classes that were the ones where I had to be like, I will get paid after this. I will get a paycheck.
100%. And I don't know if when you went through this was a big deal or not, but like I also saw a lot of people that were like, I'm gonna be a video game programmer after this, and I'm like, well, yeah, but you're gonna have to learn a lot more than this. Like, this won't get you there. You're gonna have to learn a lot more. So, but they were like, oh, I'm gonna do this now, and then I'm a video game programmer, and I'm like,
that is a common like thought.
that's not how this is gonna actually work. You can be a video game programmer, not discouraging you from that, but this is not gonna get you there. You're gonna have to keep going. Like,
Yeah. Wow, you do sound like you would have been a good teacher though. That's really cool.
I tried. I was told I was. I don't know. Sometimes I definitely, you're always harder on yourself than other people are on you. So I was always like, I don't know. So
Yeah, if you're implying people walked away from a C++ class feeling like they've learned programming, you were a great teacher. You were wonderful. That's like a very objective measure.
it is kind of interesting, and this is not a live about me, but it is kind of interesting. One of my kids is in school now, and one of the teachers that is doing the the academy, the coding academy that he's in, one of the teachers is somebody I taught, which I thought was fun. I was like, oh, thank you, Geeky Sparrow. But
oh wait, Kiki, were you a mechanical engineer? Is that what you were? I don't know, but I just saw some of her videos and then I've seen them for a while. Most of them are like really cute, well printed products. But then she started to do some Fusion 360 tutorials and I was like, I'm learning like a lot right now. Like this is very helpful. And I think I might have seen that she's a mechanical engineer, maybe if I'm remembering that correctly, but that was really cool.
Yeah, the Unreal Engine is nice.
Kirsten. Okay. What's her handle? Which one is it? A couple words as well. You're not that. Okay, you just have the cute prints. I like this. Did you do the? Sorry, I'm distracting now. But did you do the balls of in water and then you put your Christmas stuff in it? I'll have to just go stalk you later. But I definitely have seen your stuff too, and it was adorable. And oh no, apparently I'm a huge fan of Kiki Creations. I'm sorry. I'm also a fan of yours too. But I'll stop now before I keep saying other people's stuff. But what we were talking about, I totally forget, buddy.
Yeah, I don't remember either. So let's talk about your constellation design and the code for that and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I started that. So I've been into it. I mean, I always liked stargazing, like probably, most people. But then after COVID, I think it was sort of a coping mechanism where like I was on TikTok and all the astrology stuff came up and I was like, this is hilarious. I'll learn how to read people's birth chart and it'll be like a really fun party trick. So I kind of like started down that path and was correct. It is like a really fun party trick. But then after a while, I started to like, how they talk about the planets are moving. You always hear like the Mercury's in retrograde. And then I was like, oh, apparently Saturn can be in retrograde. Oh, apparently all of them can be. So then you start to be like, okay, so like, what is that? And I started to like look at the calendars and see how the further out planets would be retrograding for longer. And then they'd also have a larger gap in between when they would go retrograde. And so that was what started to get me to be like, oh, is this like the, middle school solar system you do where you put them all? And I was like, of course it is. That makes perfect sense. So that kind of realization, I'm pretty sure I had some adult candy while I was sitting there like, wait, I totally understand the universe now. So I had that like moment. And then I was like, oh, so this is like, there is like an actual science level underneath all the astrology like memes and things about relationships. So it's probably like 2 or maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, it's very much the Mars and microwave, but it's COVID and I'm sitting at home alone, so I have the time to go figure out what these are. And that's essentially how this all went down. So I started to be like, okay, cool. I do actually feel like I've got a more visual representation of how the planetary system works. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of like, so like what other actual science things are there underneath astrology? And pretty quickly you find out that like, thousands of years ago, astrology was just how you kept time. And it was just like the way of tracking that like, okay, I live in this area of land and I'm watching how the stars move day to day because there's literally nothing else to watch. There's no like TVs or anything like that. It gets dark, you see the stars. So you sit there watching them. And I got very interested in like how it's like almost, it doesn't feel scientific because it's so well known, like literally tracking time, tracking calendar days. There's 365 days in a year. Like that's all stuff that doesn't feel like science anymore because it just is. But 3,000 years ago, the fact that all these independent cultures could come to the same conclusions and know that like after this star pattern moves across the sky, here comes another star pattern. And they just knew that it was always in that cycle got really cool to me. So I started kind of probably like 2 years ago, I would sort of work through ideas of what I want to make. None of them exist yet because most of them involve like hardware and servers. But then when I lost my job and was like, okay, I want to start making some of these products, I did start thinking, how do I make products like the fastest? So like, I don't want to do something that involves like maintenance with users and like server uptime because like me by myself, that'll be a nightmare. So eventually, I wanted to get constellation tattoos. and I still want to get them. So I actually probably will in the next couple months. My birthday is next month. I might, if I show up with constellation tattoos, it'll probably be a birthday purchase. But I went to Google them and just like, I'm an Aquarius. So I was looking at Aquarius constellations and they were all different. There were so many varieties of it. And the more I looked, the more I was like, these are all wrong. Like they're all wrong. And I just kept going. And eventually I found the right version of it, but it was so challenging to figure out. And I learned a lot through that. So that's what started the like, okay, well, I'm a programmer. I can figure out, and I found OpenSCAD. If there wasn't OpenSCAD, I would not be doing this project at all. But once I found that, I was like, cool, I can pull the star data set down. I can like calculate the angles between all of them and the brightnesses and use that to make models. And so essentially that's what I've been doing ever since, is just a bunch of constellation projects. But long term, I do want to get into like kind of deeper programmatic stuff in modeling. So like generating deep space constellations would be cool to me, especially based on images and things like that. The tech for astronomy and astronomers is really outdated. So I've got some ideas of like modernizing things in that sort of space. So that's sort of where I fell upon this, because I wanted tattoos, and then also I wanted to start selling things quickly. So here I am doing this.
And they're amazing. I mean, you're the little chart with all that's so cool. I saw it the first time and I was like, it would never have occurred to me. I'd have never gotten there. Like,
yeah, it's like it's obvious if you go really, really deep into it. You're like, oh, this is how they should be aligned. Oh my, I could nerd talk on this a lot, but like a lot of the reasons like a clock would always probably end up being circular if you worked on the design, just because you would always end up being like, oh, it moves in this rotation. But the major reason for it is just because like the horizon is circular and people were watching the stars and they all mimic the charts that they were making. And I just find it really neat. And yeah, thanks, Kiki. It's so frustrating. Like, you know, I spend all this time on the design and the prototyping and the printing the product, and then I find it's the same amount of weeks on the packaging and the like finishing touches of the product, and I'm like, this sucks. But it's good, you know. I'm like, okay, well, this is sort of the point, is to have it be like, my goal is, I do not like getting something and gifting and like packaging it to gift to somebody. Like I'm always the person at Christmas where I just give people Amazon boxes. Like I'm like, whatever, this is the one that came and it's for you.
You don't care about the outside. You want the inside. That's fine.
Yeah. So my goal is to like not require anyone to have to do that themselves. Like it's just always gonna come gift wrapped. And if you want it to be a gift, it'll just have a different receipt, but like it'll just always be like that, because yeah, I just hate doing it.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, so I got to see it first because it came off of the build plate while we were talking before and you showed it to me, but you're a tool for actually getting them to sit on the plate.
Yeah.
It's super awesome, and I was like, that's brilliant. It's genius.
There were a few people that sort of like kept pushing me to do it. Let's see, is this the right set? I need all my props and they might fall over, so hopefully not. But yeah, it was actually like a few people. One of them was Ben. He's like, if you're gonna ever open a TikTok shop, you've got to be like ready to make 1 million of these. And I was like, it's fine, I'll just stay here doing it. But then if I'm honest, my like fingers started to hurt from like Christmas, because I was like pressing them all down individually. And after not that many, like 40, I was like, oh, this does suck. So started working on this, and it's really satisfying. And this is probably like, when I model the constellations, it's basically just like lines, like squares and circles, and then they're just extruded, and I'm like, cool. But this one I did in Fusion 360, and I was like, now I feel like a real,
now you're a professional.
And getting them to fit inside was like a huge achievement. Yeah. So I am excited, and it does make packaging actually, like, it takes it down from like 10 minutes to like 3. It's really awesome.
It is. And it's you know, so you just you put all the constellations in, you put the paper on, and you flip it over and press down, basically. Yeah. It's
like really sick. I mean, okay, let's see. Yeah, I mean, the kind of, yeah, you just sort of like, and they drop in really satisfyingly, like you can sort of just like find the spot for it and it'll just fall in place. So this part is really fun. The like puzzle PC type vibe.
Yeah.
And it like, so one of the things it cut down was like, I actually would spend a while. I have three of them because I can stack them all. I do them in sets of three, and I also have three that go on the build plate, so it kind of works together. But I stack them all side by side, and then I can just like spread them out and place them in. And sure, it'll be a little harder for me on live because I have like 5% the brain power than when I do it by myself. But you just like stick them all in, and then I've got this mounting putty that you can put that I just put like 1 or 2 pieces on. I used to put like 3 to 4 pieces each because I was really worried that they'd come off. And after having sent them around, I'm quite sure that this mounting putty, it's like they're not just gonna like fall off there. And people made comments that like pulling it off is a little bit annoying. So I was like, okay, I'll do less. And so far I've done less and it's been like perfectly fine. But yeah, you just like 1 or 2 pieces on the bigger ones, and then you drop the piece of paper and you lift it up and it's on there. And it's like, it's really satisfying. It makes it fun to do the packaging, and it means that like every constellation is going to be exactly the same spot on the piece of paper every time. So that's cool. And I just got a 2D printer, which everybody finds ridiculous when I call it that, but I'm like, I don't normally have these. But I got like a Epson Eco Tank that'll do packaging for me. So before I was having to go to like a lab and get them all done outside of here, but now I can do it all at home. It's really nice.
Yes. Yeah, my OCD likes it a lot too. It scratched that itch in my brain that
I don't have OCD. I'm very ADD, and I was like, it's fine. I'll just throw them on there. It'll be okay. And then I did it, and I was like, this is awesome. This is great. So it works even if you're not super organized.
always be in the right place. This is fantastic. Yeah. So if you haven't, if anybody's in here that doesn't follow Kaylin, go follow Kaylin. She's amazing. And brilliant, obviously.
Back to Buddy. I think I just saw Rick join. Yeah, hi Rick. Whenever I'm working on Aries, I picture Rick in my mind. I'm like, I'm doing the Aries keychain for Rick. He is a hilarious Aries that like knows it, and he understands what the personality of Aries is, and he can talk about it all. I love it. So I think of him all the time when I'm working on Aries products.
Bearded said it reminds him of, what was that game called? That anxiety-inducing game. You put the pieces in and he waited, and it was like there was a timer and it would just randomly throw all the pieces everywhere at you. Do you remember that?
No, I did not play that.
Oh
my
gosh,
mom
what was
probably
it
vetoed that. She was like, absolutely not. There was 4 of us, and I think she was always just like, you all suck. We do not need more messy things.
Perfection. That's what it was. It was perfection. That's what it was. Because you had a certain amount of time.
I was like talking about something random. Ruckus, I did see you're in Aries. I'll keep that in mind now.
Geeky, happy birthday to who? Oh, to Kaylin. Yes, of course. Happy early birthday to Kaylin. Has to be.
Don't worry, you'll hear about my birthday when it's here. I'll make a whole fuss about it.
I'm a Scorpio.
Oh, you are a Scorpio.
I'm Scorpio, yeah.
That's why you don't tell anybody anything about your personal life. That's super Scorpio.
That might be. It might be that. It might be.
I don't have a personal life. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's nothing to know.
What you see here is what exists. That's fine.
Okay, technically, Bill, I will think of you for Capricorn now too. Yesterday was the last full day. I think if I can get this done, I will try and make a video today before 7 p.m. We shall see. But I want to do like a science video. I'm actually trying to print out some like goofy planets right now. I mean, they're just spheres. But so like say you got your little, this one, my dog ate this one. I don't know what I'm holding it on to, but it's part of my scrapbook now. And okay, so say this is like the Earth is in the center. So I want to do a video explaining what it means when people say like, now the sun's in Aquarius, not Capricorn. So what it means is this one's Aquarius. Let me find a Capricorn. This is a Capricorn. Okay. So right now the sun is like right here, like right in between Capricorn and Aries. And they've got distinct lines where they draw it. It's like the right ascensions. They've got like a spot where it flips over. So at like, I want to say, I was looking this up. It's like 750-ish, it's going to move over into Aquarius. And so that's what they mean by now it's Aquarius season, because the sun takes about 28 to 30 days to traverse each sign. And then a cool thing for right now is also at the same time, if you end up, I secretly hope that I like drag all of 3D printing also into astrology talk. By virtue of following me, you start seeing astrology videos, and then every time you're like, damn it, Caitlin. But that is part of my goal. So at the same time as the sun is moving into Aquarius, like within the same hour, Pluto is doing the same thing. So you'll hear a lot of people saying like, Pluto's now in Aquarius, and that is a big deal astrologically, but also just astronomically. It's cool because Pluto's so far out, so it'll spend like 20 years in Aquarius and the sun will move a lot faster. So I want to do like a little video where, again, it shows you like the faster moving planets or sun or whatever are closer to the Earth than the further out ones. But yeah, that's what I sit around thinking about. I'm like,
you're gonna drag everybody into astrology. I'm gonna drag you into IT too. So like you're gonna have like this whole
yes.
You'll be well rounded. We're just trying to make you well rounded. That's all. That's what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to figure I switched my name to like Astro Maker because I am like, I mean, I do know astrology and I like it, but it really is like it's just the space part is what I'm interested in. Yeah. All the memes are like also fun, but it's like, oh no, look, you actually, I always picture each planet with its little personality literally moving around the sky. And I'm like, that's so cute. So that's what I really like about it.
Okay, so new series, a new set of things to create, Kaylin. Now you have to make cute little planet
No, I'm working on
magnets and like one for every.
Hey, where'd I put it? I was printing some out this morning because I was like, I gotta do it for this video. I gotta improve it, but you'll see I mean, they're quite literally just spheres, but this is like the first, I'm trying to figure out the scaling, and it's not gonna be accurate because like if I were to scale, this is Mercury, this little dot, yeah. And I were to scale it out proportionally, the sun would be larger than like a fridge. It might even be more than like 4 feet wide, like it wouldn't fit in your hallway. And so I'm like, I always do that with astronomy. We're like, I know, everyone's like, yeah, you can't show it to scale. And I always try, and I'm always like, you still can't do it at scale. Like I'm like, maybe next time the math will be different. But this one's like what I'm gonna probably do the size of Jupiter at, and then have like, and what's cool is I can put different size magnets in it, so it'll be like gravitational forces. So like Mercury won't stick as strong as Jupiter will or the sun will. So like you won't really be able to use Mercury to like hold things up, but you could use Pluto. So yeah, that's what's gonna come.
That's a great idea.
So soon.
Yeah.
That'll probably launch later in February.
They need cute little faces and stuff too. Like,
okay, I will keep them. Okay. I will prototype that. I will see if that wins. It might win.
Give them personalities. Whatever personality you see, that's what they need.
I want to test out. I'm going to test out some weird glow in the dark things that I don't know if they'll work, but if they do, I'm hoping I can get some like cool looking planets that give very. My mind is a little bit more on like cool shiny than like faces, but you are right that the faces are cute. So maybe I'll do 2 versions.
Call them like, I don't know, planet friends, or I don't know what to call them.
Pokemon is awesome, Ruckus. That's like also a top tier thing that I would do. I can't quite tell. Does whoever runs Pokemon like go after people for copyright issues? Because if they don't, I would be keen on that too. People
shiny faces, best of both worlds. Totally. So yeah, so scale, I can imagine scale gets a little crazy, right? Because you have those the ones that you were just showing us, and then you have ones that are that would be the size of a bus.
Wrong. I think this should be like this should be like what was it? I want to say this should be 12 inches big, like a foot, like a literal foot long, and it's obviously not. But yeah, Mercury is also. I realized Mercury is only teeny tiny bit larger than Pluto. I know I've looked this up before. I think when they demoted Pluto, they had like 3 criteria for it. And so it was like, it's too small. I think it was something about its like path around the sun that also demoted it. But I got to look again because the too small comment isn't very good when Mercury is like not much bigger. They're basically the same size. So I got to look into that again. I forget why. So I forget what their whole rationale was.
This was a while ago. I saw the question come by, but thankfully Bearded's on it and he's got them, so I don't actually miss them all the way. But Crafty want to know if either of us has ever been interested in mechatronics and the 3D and embedded knowledge.
No, what is that?
I don't really know what that is either. So I just need like
mechatronics.
Yeah,
Sounds.
unless I read that wrong. That says Mechatronics. Yes.
I want to go like Google it, but
Crafty, what is that? Help me.
tell us
Help
what
us.
it is. Should we be interested in it? It sounds cool.
I would say no, judging by the fact that neither of us knows what that is. So,
Must
but
be really lame then.
if you tell us, then maybe we can go and look into it.
Yeah,
Maybe we will be interested.
it reminds me of like Transformers for some reason. That's what I'm expecting. Like it's things that are gonna open up.
Like electronics and mechanisms. I can't.
Oh no, yeah. Okay, Crafty, have you done that? Because that is where some of my later ideas
Oh,
require that, and I was like starting to look into it, and I was like, I gotta stop doing that. Most of it's in C. Okay, that's why I stopped looking into it. Sucks. I do have some Go written, like, there's this thing called TinyGo that is like Go for embedded systems and great for little tooling and stuff. But there's been some white papers coming out that are putting Go in certain like programming requirements, like based on what your needs are, at like very close to as fast as C++, which is incredible. So I'm cheering them on all the time. I'm like, please, if I can write Go for like low level embedded system stuff and it's actually quite fast, amazing.
yeah. So no, originally, but also yeah, kind of because my son just started doing robotics competitions. So he's in a robotics club, and they're using Vex, and it's written in. I believe they're writing it in C++, but like I've been working with him a little bit on that recently, to help him learn it so that he can um, create the what do you want to call them, routines, the like automated routines for the robot. So a little bit, but not probably not nearly as much as you're talking about.
Yeah, and no, you didn't derail. I started to
No, you
reply,
didn't.
my phone will shake everywhere. Yeah, it's very much future products. I want to do that. So now I know I'll hit you up. I'll be like, okay, explain it all to me. Now it's time for me to start.
Yeah, no, totally. We just need a new direction to go, and you can tell we'll talk for like 20 minutes before you get another chance. So,
Speaking of, that actually kind of reminds me, yeah, bring up any nerdy topic. It's fine.
yeah.
I didn't bring up so now, current day, I brought up all like historical things I've done. There's a makerspace in New York, called Fat Cat Fab Lab. And so I'm excited, but there's a lot of reservation in this. So I was just appointed, is maybe the word, to the board of it, which is really cool. Although that does mean I get to know everything that's ever gone wrong in the lab. So I am a little bit like, this is a buzzkill, but we'll have to fix it. But it's a cool concept, these maker spaces. And just from a few people that I've talked to, it does seem like there's not a lot around. So I don't know if anybody has maker spaces in their area or doesn't know what it is, because I can talk a little bit about it, but I feel like it's something that I would expect to grow over the next like 5 to 10 years, where more and more maker spaces pop up across the US. / I'd love to make a pitch for people to start thinking about it, because like maybe you should start one, type 5. Yeah.
I definitely want you to talk about that, but I do want to say, Crafty, I would totally watch videos about mechatronics and all that stuff. Like I would totally watch those videos. That seems super interesting to me. So like make videos, and then we'll come and learn from you.
Yeah, like open your makerspace, but like maybe come to New York and do it. Like why Georgia?
Why?
It's so weird.
Why do it there? Just come.
Why
Yeah.
yeah, like I said.
But
If you want to
definitely,
come up here, you can help run the one I'm into. That's an option.
I would totally watch that. Definitely make that a series, and we'll totally.
Yeah, I would watch it. I would take notes, and then I'd probably come back in like 3 to 6 months and be like, okay, here's what I made with that knowledge.
Yeah, it's a good idea, Crafty. It's a good idea. Anyway, yeah. So go ahead about maker spaces.
Yeah.
I want to know those things.
So it totally varies. Like it's a maker space, which means it's a place for makers. So it's about as varied as you can expect projects to be. But the whole premise is that it's like a way to like collectively buy equipment and make it open to the community in a way that like is prohibitive of like an individual buying. So 3D printers are expensive, but they're not as expensive as like a full laser machine or a CNC machine or a welding shop. So the ones that we've got in New York, a lot of them have those tools and 3D printers. So you've got a bunch. I'm slowly going to, my goal for this year is to transition us from Ultimakers to Bamboos. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to succeed, but like, I am just like, please, the Bamboos are incredible. And frankly, I would love to have a backup set of Bamboos in my makerspace so that if I ever am like, oh no, I need a lot of products, I can like go take them over for like a day or something. But that's the whole premise. And it's been really helpful. Like, so I started going there in like maybe March. I was a part of programming communities, like a bunch of software engineers prior to last year, but I had never been a part of like hardware and engineering and all that kind of stuff. So I started going, and it's probably the number one reason that I'm still working on all these projects, because you just have people that you can ask questions to, bounce ideas off of. Like, I'll come in and be like, I'm planning to solve the problem this way. And they'll be like, what about these other couple things? A lot of what Print Talk also provides, but it's just a little bit wider spread. I know that if I want to do like woodworking stuff, there's a bunch of woodworking people and all that kind of stuff. It's a really cool concept. So I don't know. I know they exist all over the US, but I would totally encourage like seeing if you've got one, but then also like if you don't, you know, I would think,
start one.
yeah. I think it's a really good idea.
Maybe get that going, because it could be cool.
You can start as a nonprofit, which then means you can solicit companies around your area to donate their old equipment to you. That's a lot. Like, almost everything in our makerspace is donated and free. Very few things were paid for. That's actually part of the reason they're like resistant to doing Bamboo, because it's like, well, we don't pay for anything. Like, why should we? And I'm like, we have some money. We can do it. Because like people pay $100 membership fees in New York. But yeah, there's like a lot of resistance because they're like, normally we just get everything for free. And that is true. So you can think of it, I use it where if I want tech, my plan is to just ask for it on behalf of the lab, get it for the lab, see if I like it, and then maybe I'll buy it for my own business and sell. Right. But it's a real, like, that's almost always what I do is I start using tools there, see what I like, see what I don't like, and then flip it to my own stuff if I really like it. Hey, Noe. Yeah, so you would be a great makerspace manager person. I see that for you, like, a lot.
Me?
Okay, Buddy, I definitely see it for you too. Like, literally.
Oh, you were talking about them. Okay, I
was talking about Zoid, but Buddy, you teach people C++ and they liked it. Like, yeah, you could probably you could try like anything. Like, I
don't know how much they liked it, but I got them through the class and they passed it. So there's that.
That's what they call liking it in C++. Like, that is what that's called.
Pretty much what it is. Yeah, Zoid, you would be fantastic for it. Yeah, for that. Real. Rick said, and I think we answered Rick's question, but Rick said, makerspace is that a print farm available for public space. So yes, and also so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, of course it's like there's a lot of social rules around it. Like if you show up and you're like, I'm going to use all the printers for a week, like, no, that's not going to fly for people, but you can, absolutely like I would love to use it as sort of like a backup print farm where like, oh my God, something went viral. Now I need to make 200 of them. Like I might go for a day and, you know, I'll send a message to the group and be like, can I use these printers? And if somebody's using one, like I, you know, wouldn't use it, but totally like awesome for that. I actually really want the Bamboo because of the built-in cameras that they've got. It's like so much easier for like, a lot of the challenges with the makerspace are you've got a lot of people and tons of them don't have experience. So you want to build a lot of guardrails around like, how easy is it for them to break this tool? And Bamboos are not impossible to break, but like way easier to use than a lot of different ones. And it's, especially in a makerspace environment, you might break it because you just don't know what the person did before you. Like there's so much there. So it's hard, but it is that. It does have, we've got like 5 printers in there. And so you can start a bunch of prints at once and get like a lot of prototyping done. And a fair amount of members show up and work there 20, 40 hours a week. Like they spend most of their time there. So it's really
Bamboo cameras make it easier to monitor for the people that are overseeing the shop. So if something is going wrong, you can go and stop it and then get a hold of that person and be like, hey.
LiDAR sensors, like the spaghetti sensors from the X1 Carbon would be so worth it in an environment like that. But yeah. So that's right. By the end of 2024, I'm like, we will have them.
if I have a bamboo by personally have a bamboo by the end of 2024, I'm considering the year a success. Cause then that means that I actually like did well enough to feel like I deserved one. So
Oh, well, now we're getting into therapy. That means, buddy, you deserve one. You deserve the world. But okay, we'll work on that throughout 2024.
we'll get there.
We'll review what your bar is and
Well,
level set it if needed.
and I want an X1 carbon that's long term, like a long term thing. I want one of those just because I want one because it's fun. But honestly, the A1 seems
Sure.
super
For me,
cool, and I'm like,
the next printer I'll get is an A1. Yeah, it would just be in the lab environment where it's a shared resource with a lot of people where I'm like, X1 Carbon makes sense for those video camera
yes,
abilities.
absolutely, yeah, for
I
sure.
also personally would like one X1 Carbon for some of the like, when I'm running like ASA or stuff like that through it. But it would probably be just one. And then it'd probably be P1Ss and A1s. That'd be my
Yeah,
dream.
I was thinking, I'm used to a bed slinger, right? Like I could do a bed slinger all day. Like the X1 Carbon is, I'm sure, easier to deal with. At least that's what I hear. That it's easier than the bed slingers. But I suppose I started with Creality,
Right.
the Enders, right? So everything is easier from here.
Everything's better. Yeah, fully. I one of my pitches for why people should join Print Talk is I'm like almost everybody in Print Talk has used Enders. So what it means is you don't need to. You can buy a like easier to use printer, and then if you get stuck, you can talk to Print Talk because they all know everything that could go wrong because they've been through it all. And I'm like, it's
Yeah, it is.
wonderful. It's so nice. I feel very covered. Where if I ever get stuck, I'm like somebody will know. They will definitely have dealt with worse than me.
For real. And so what is I was just thinking about this. What is one of your favorite like coding software engineer groups that you're in? Like what is one of your favorites?
Yeah. Oh, this is a pitch too. Okay, so my favorite for sure. It's called the Recurse Center. So it's like it's kind of like an artist retreat for programmers. So it's like a sabbatical. You'll take 6 weeks or 12 weeks off of your job full time. You go and you program. And so what's cool about it is it used to only be in person, but then with COVID they went remote. So you can do it fully remote now. You can also do it, and there's a space in New York, and they encourage this, but like do not require it at all. So you can like move to New York for 6 weeks or 12 weeks, which is obviously not cheap. But hey, here's a pitch. Like maybe if you want to just temporarily move to New York for a little bit, it's a good reason to. And you get to meet a lot of other programmers, a lot of other really, really cool people. Like I know I do interesting things, and a lot of it's via motivation from this community where like everyone's doing really cool things, and like my stuff is like on par with what everything else that they're doing. It's not at all like people are like, wow, Kaylin, that's cool, but it's not like, wow, that's amazing. They're like, yeah, sure, of course you're doing that. That makes total sense type stuff. And it's a really, really cool community. But you can also do it remote, and that's a nice way to, it's totally free. It's sort of like a boot camp, but more for, I would say more senior engineers, but the best term would be like very autonomous engineers. So engineers that like, the whole thing is like there's no teachers, there are some like kind of advisors that you can talk to, but primarily it's like you bring a project, they want to see it's well defined, and they want to believe that you can execute on it yourself. So that's the whole program. It's really, really cool. I did it once in 2016, and then I did it a lot again in 2023. But that's like the most fun. It's like a very creative group of programmers, and I would also love for them to get some 3D printers because I feel like they would get really cool stuff coming out of it too. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite group.
So you're in New York, right? So if I do that, I could just come stay with you, right?
No, probably not.
No.
Well, we'll see where I live in a couple months. My lease is up. Maybe I'll get like away. I'm probably gonna move like further out of New York, like into Brooklyn or something, because it's cheaper out there probably. But so like maybe my dream would be to have like a 2-bedroom where one is just for my printers, and then it can also be a bed. So like maybe, but no promises. My
I don't
place
know how
right
much,
now. People
I don't
always
know how
are
much
like,
my
"Wow, you have a
husband
really
would.
big place," and I'm like, no. Every inch is optimized. It is 600 square feet top. Like that is all I have. I just have to make sure everything is in the perfect spot. But yeah, when you walk through it, it's like you got to walk in a certain path through my whole apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how my husband would feel about me, just run it off for a while.
He seems really supportive, actually. He seems great.
He really is. He's very supportive, but I don't know about that. He'd be like, "Really? You're gonna do this to me for 8 weeks, for 12
We
weeks?
did 6 weeks. The 6 week plan. It's just 6 weeks. Don't worry about it.
You'll be fine. You won't miss me at all."
Or I should say, a lot of people will do remote, but then just come to New York for like 1 or 2 weeks. So they get some of the in-person experience, but then a lot of it's there. So I actually should call that out. That's been happening a lot, where it's not like you're there the whole time in person. So there's options.
Hi, Denny.
Hey, Denny.
I love you very much, but you can't come in this one. There will be more. You can come into lives later, but not this one. This one's a particular live. But yeah, I was. Oh, you ever go to say something and it just leaves you? God.
And Denny came in and he's so distracting.
We love you, Denny. Just hang out in the comments with us. Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I was letting you know. You didn't know, so now you know. Yeah, give us some more questions. Bearded's right. We need more questions. Anybody got a question?
I don't think of what else we talked about. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you want, like, why did you want to start this podcast? You had the coolest reasonings for it.
Oh, so this is for a very long time. I have it occurred to me very early on in my career, my college career specifically, that women are severely underrepresented in IT, as far as like overall, and I want this to reach younger girls who are in IT. We're kind of recruiting. That's kind of what we're doing, because I want them to see that not only can they do it, but that there are people out here doing it already. Like, we exist, we're here already. And if you can connect with one of us and it helps you to be, motivated and continue along what you're already passionate about, then that's fantastic. So it's a lot about reaching younger girls and not letting them get discouraged early, because that happens a lot. There's a lot of things about IT, being that it's such a male-dominated field. There's a lot of things that are very hard to get past. There's some hurdles. You feel like you don't really belong. Like when I started school, I was one of very few females in the whole department. There were like 4 of us total. So I was like, this doesn't feel like a space for me, but I'm going to be here and do it because that's who I am as a person. But not everybody is that person, right? Not everybody can. I've always been tell me I can't do it and watch me do it. Like that's sort of who I am, right? But that's not everybody. Everybody's not like that. So I want to be here for that support system and show people that we do exist out here, and you can exist out here with us if you'd like. Because there are cool people like Kaylin out here.
I gotta say, and geeky sparrows, even though she's not geeky. She's not here anymore anyway. I was like, I remember everything Kiki does. Apparently, everything. But
I don't know if did I hit what you were talking about, what we talked about? Okay,
yeah, I had this similar experience in college too. Although I knew there weren't a lot of women. Because I was generally like one of the only in the class, but it was actually at graduation where, you sat in your lines, and I graduated in a computer science department or whatever of like over 200, like 205 or something like that. Yeah. And there was 6 women. And when we were there, like someone was like, okay, cool, let's get the women together. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like there's 6 like out of 200.
Yeah.
And that was just like shocking, and I was actually kind of glad I didn't know before that point in time, because I think I would have been like, what? Yeah, well, Leo, this is a lie.
Right Leo, this is what I'm doing.
I am. So actually, yeah, you all will see this too. I have never really had social media accounts before this point. Like technically, not really though. I just never really did. I didn't care for it. And I still don't, if I'm honest. I'm always like, this kind of sucks. But whatever. So I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't know where the line is. I want to both like attract women with astrology and astronomy and space things, and then also be like, here's all the ways that it's made, and here's how it's manufactured, and here's 3D printing, and then eventually also here's how I did it programmatically. And I think a lot, I don't have answers yet, but I think a lot about that, like, what's the pipeline look like for like attracting a girl into my content, and then like slowly figuring out how to be like, oh, by the way, now you know how to do this. Like,
Right.
figure this out for yourself with like
Yeah.
your own ideas. I don't know the way to do that. So like I said earlier, where I want to get the 3D printing guys into astrology talk, I want to go both ways with it, to be like, I'm sorry, now you also see weird space videos because of me. Both directions is what I'm trying to do. And I don't know the right way or how to do that, but that is definitely the goal.
Yeah, so I would say to Leo, my approach is of evolving currently, and I think that's basically what Caitlin's saying too, is that hers is also evolving currently. One big way that I wanted to do it is, I mean, I started on this app with I actually kind of didn't start in 3D printing. I started doing I have a series on here called Women in IT, where I have covered lots of like really famous women that did things in IT that nobody, either you don't know about it or you don't really understand what they did. You kind of have heard the name, but you don't really know. Yeah, like I covered Admiral Grace Hopper. I covered Margaret
Every
Hamilton.
COBOL programmer has to know who that is. but,
Yes,
but
you have
nobody
to.
else does. But yeah.
Actually, I learned about her long before I started COBOL programming, which is interesting because I'm like, oh wait, oh, okay, now that makes sense. She basically, she's also, interestingly enough, I love Admiral Grace Hopper. I could talk about her all day. She's actually also the person that coined the term debugging.
Yeah.
So they had a moth, I think it was, in one of their machines, causing all kinds of weird electrical anomalies that were messing with the system, and then that's where it came, because she was down on the floor trying to pull this moth out of the machine, and somebody said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm debugging the machine," and that's where it came from. So
My favorite, there's probably like a 1-to-1 relationship between being a female software engineer and liking Grace Hopper. But my favorite story is where she had a clock and she had it spin backwards. And her thing was always like, think differently. So she'd have all these like army people come in and she's like, it's still a functional clock. It's just going the opposite direction.
Right.
And everyone's like, what? And I thought that
Well,
was
and
really
also
cool.
she used to, when she went to do like interviews or she went to like big events and engagements, she used to, Admiral Hopper used to carry little lengths of wire with her. And she gave them out, and they were nanoseconds. It's the length of wire that electrical signals can travel within a nanosecond.
That's cool.
So it was like to visualize, like, this is what a nanosecond is. She did that. You're right, Texas. And so I kind of got derailed with Admiral Grace
That was
Hopper,
cool.
which
That was
will
cool. I
happen.
liked it a lot.
Which will happen if I start talking about her. Sorry, but one of the big things I'm trying to do, so I'm sort of showcasing women that made huge steps in technology and IT, but also that's what this series is to address what you were just talking about there with doing it from specialties might not be a good idea. So what I am trying to do with this series is show that there are, not only are we here, obviously, and that part of it is really important, but where everybody came from to get here is different. Like we use different avenues to get here, and so sort of showing, I mean, technology is in everything. Any industry you want to get into, you can get into the technology aspect in that industry. There's no industry with no tech. There's just not. It doesn't exist anymore. So that's sort of where this is, Leo, to further answer that question, is that I want to sort of show that it doesn't matter. Like if you're interested in technology, but you're also interested in this other thing, then the two will come together at some point. You can find somewhere where both of your interests are there together, and get into it that way. And then you're doing two things that you love at one time. So that's kind of where part of this comes from, and sort of, and then Bearded asked a question, and I'm I'm going to let you answer first, Kaylin, for this one. Bearded said, what challenges have you faced? What support systems have helped you as you developed? And what systems do you wish were in place that would have helped?
Yeah, I mean, that's a like
It's lots of questions.
like the unfortunate answer is like so many challenges. Like, and that does suck. Like I don't know if you've had the same experience, buddy, but it can be tough. And there is a lot, or at least I've experienced a lot of the like kind of pushing out, the kind of like maybe you should be doing something else energy I've gotten. And that's probably the hardest part is like when you get this sort of like a manager who's like, oh, you're really good at this, but like maybe you should go do HR because like that's what the women do type stuff, or like maybe you should do recruiting and that kind of thing. And I think the number one thing that'll happen is like I've seen a lot of guys not want to acknowledge the more technical aspects of what I've accomplished, which is frustrating because sometimes it's sort of this like, you know, I just don't want it to infringe on what I do. And there's a lot of like, hey, what you do is good and what I do is good. Like they can both be good. But I've experienced a bunch of guys that are pretty uncomfortable and sometimes publicly uncomfortable acknowledging that like I accomplished something or another woman accomplished something. And that is unfortunate. They talk a lot about like if the woman doesn't get credit, that like hurts their career and all that kinds of things. But it also just like personally sucks to have happen. And that's true for everybody. Like I would actually say I've seen this happens to a lot of women, and this happens to a lot of quieter men engineers that I've worked with, where if they are quieter, very technical, very sharp, I've noticed the same behaviors where like the more senior manager types will be very quick to ignore their contributions, to not bring it up. And it's often correlated with the strongest engineers. So I've seen that a few times and it's really discouraging. The things I've seen help the most have been kind of talking about it, like with people on your team or teams close to you in the company, and just sort of being like, hey, I'm seeing this thing. Here's what I'm working on. I can't figure out how to get the acknowledgement for the work, and particularly wording it like, I want to make sure I'm going in the right direction. There's like a lot of corporate speak you can do. So like, how do I ensure that this aligns, et cetera, et cetera. You can often then find the people who will be like, oh, actually what you're doing is great and exactly what we want, et cetera. What I wish would change is, and I think it will change, some of the things that I've noticed are like with tech, things become more transparent. And so what I kind of mean by that is like as a programmer, you have GitHub with a lot of Git commits. So like you can track things in there and people use that a fair amount. It is not the only metric. And especially when it comes to more senior engineering, like design level, architecture level, those things are more tracked in like Google Drive. And what I'm excited about is the systems that have those things actually end up having like history logs and tools like that. So I'm kind of hopeful that as managers become more aware that like you don't need to guess who did this work, like you can see it, you can find it, it'll be a lot less likely that the most technical person gets sidelined, because that's probably the most discouraging thing that I've seen. It does not always happen, but yeah, figuring out how to work on that is like the bane of my existence. And a lot of where I'm like, I'm just going to take some time off for a bit and then go back and do some of that again.
So I think for me that I think a lot of my experiences have been sort of similar, and I think that's kind of where we're at, right? We all do we don't experience the exact same challenges, but we certainly experience similar challenges that we can relate to as females in a male dominated industry. I think a lot of the things that I've experienced as far as like, it is really just discouragement. Like you're told, I mean, I was told I should be an English major rather than what I was doing. And when the math got hard, and by the way, if you're not good at math, but you want to be in technology, but you don't think you can do it because you're not good at math, that's not true. Do it anyway. Like just push through the math, because there is math, you have to get through it, but push through it because it's worth it. And in the end, you're really only doing algebra anyway. Sometimes advanced algebra, but just algebra really. Anyway, but that was a lot of what I ran into, right? So, and I've seen it happen, not just to me, but also watched it happen to other women trying to get into the field, where you'll be told stuff like, oh, you should be an English major, you're so good at this, or you should do this, or you should do that. You know, oh, the math is really hard, maybe you should change your major to something less mathy, you know, like, and it frustrates me but I'm also sort of that person. The reason I made it through is because I'm also that person that is like, you tell me I can't do it, watch me. Like, like it became, for me, calculus became like this fight, this battle that I had to win, right? Like, and that it's sort of, but it is really hard. I had a friend of mine that was told by an advisor in school that she shouldn't be in IT. She shouldn't be, studying computer science because she's a girl and it's really not what we're supposed to be doing or what we can do. She was basically told she could not do it because she was a girl. So she should definitely find a different major. Like, it wasn't even a like, oh, you're really good at this other thing, you should do this. It was more of a like, you can't do what you're doing because, and that eventually that professor got in a whole lot of trouble because I sort of told on him to the head of the computer science department, who was not happy with that idea. But yeah, there's a lot of that. And I think one really good way that we can, as women that are already in the technology industry, if we sort of come together and speak louder, I think that's going to help a lot of, have more, make it more visible, make it where people know that we're here and that, and girls know that we're here and they know that they can do it too. Because I mean, Kaylin and I are regular people. We're not, I'm not going to say there's nothing special about us, because there is, but like, we're not any different than everybody is special somehow, right? Like, which sounds a lot like a Barney episode, but but it's true. Like, we all have things that we're good at. Everybody has their thing, right? So I feel like that will help a lot, is just to sort of be out here and be a little louder and a little bit more, supportive, I guess is the right word. Like just make sure that the existence of us is known, and you can come and, hey, if you have questions, if you have whatever, Kaylin is out here and super nice and you can talk to her. She's easy to talk to. Like, I'm out here. You can ask me any question you need to. If you're a younger girl that isn't in IT yet, but wants to be, we're out here and we exist, and you can speak to us, or at least that's what I'm trying to do.
Twisted brought up, well, I think Ruckus had a good question, but Twisted just had a fun story that I love, being an aeronautical engineer. That sounds so cool. I actually met with the recruiters for the becoming a pilot in the Army. I don't even know. But I remember they went through the pitch and they were like, yeah, so you wake up at 6 a.m. to do that. And I was like, oh, no, I'm out.
No, too much in the morning.
I think that's not happening. And I'm glad. I wouldn't have liked that life. But someday I would love to get my pilot's license after I become a millionaire somehow. That'd be really cool.
Whenever that happens. Yeah. Aeronautical engineering is really cool. I mean, I feel like she'd be cooler than me at that point. Like, for sure. And then what are we excited about new technology coming in the next few years? I think I'm excited to watch where machine learning goes in the next few years, because I think we're to the point now where, and let's just preface this by saying I hate the term AI, because it's become this buzzword, this buzz phrase that people don't really understand what AI is. Really, it's machine learning that we're watching happen right now. And I think where that's going to go and what we're going to be able to do with that is going to be twofold. Super awesome to watch, but also a little scary. But we'll see. I mean, I think that's where I'm at. I'm ready to watch what AI can do to help us sort of improve the world as it stands.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if I would say AI is my most exciting thing too, but I am excited to use it, especially from the perspective of starting a small business. Being able to use an AI, which I often look at it as like a junior intern, where you've got to give a lot of guidance. You've got to really work through the project with them, but they can come up with good stuff, and they can really move you further with ideas and think in a way that you weren't going to, is awesome. And then I also sort of look at it it helps me figure out the role that I want, so that hopefully someday I could hire a person who actually specializes in this and this is the job. I do think that's cool. But I wouldn't say I'm excited about it, because again, I don't know where it's going to go. And it could be just it could just wreak. I mean, the economy's already not in great shape. So we'll see what happens. But I am excited. I really am excited about like 3D printing. I know that's lame and we're all here, but like I think a lot about being able to do local manufacturing and on demand manufacturing and how much better that is for small businesses that just want to get started, but also like literally the environment. It makes us less reliant on other countries. It means that we can experiment with like materials that we can try out and then like really only use what you need or very little bit more than like the whole what we talked about earlier where like I could use my makerspace as an on-demand print farm, like having that available for, oh, you need to make a ton of these, like cool, no problem, I can scale up in like weeks and be ready for a lot of demand and then like stop really quickly if it doesn't have as much demand. Like I love that stuff. And I hope that's something that really does come into like the whole American workforce and become something where like it is really normal to have print farms around and it is really normal to be making products like this. I hope that's what happens. I think it'd be really cool.
And interestingly, the idea of like that in a makerspace is sort of really kind of parallel to the idea of having virtual machines and being able to scale up and scale down in tech. So like it's kind of interesting that there's sort of a parallel going on there.
Yeah, it's just like it's psycho like being able to like, well, yes, these are circles and lines. I do not know how many times I've printed different versions of it to like, because I'll print it and get it right. And I think I started working with Cassiopeia, which is in retrospect a very easy constellation to design for because it's just like 5 stars and a W. They're all evenly spaced out. Like you can make one, you're like, wow, that looks great. Then when I would start to make some later on that were like closer stars together, I'd be like, oh no, the stars are too big, like they're all blurring together, you can't tell. So like the insanity number of prototypes that I went through would have been impossible and actually did make me like feel more confidence as to why these products don't already exist, because in order to do like, it's fine to do a couple constellations, but if you're going to do all 88, if you're going to do all, I have like 3,000 constellation types right now, and I know there's more data out there. That's insane. Like you cannot do that with old practices in manufacturing. So at minimum, I think prototyping is revolutionized, but I actually would love to see real manufacturing. Like this is the final product. I think that's coming. I hope that's coming. And I do find that encouraging. That's where I'm like, I'm not wasting my time with 3D printing. Like everybody who learns this now is like,
as fast as, and Ruckus brought this up, as fast as it went from the Ender to A1, right? Like as fast as we made that leap, I can't imagine in another year, another 2 years, we're going to be on to, what are we even going to, where are we going? Like we're going to be on to real life replicators, and my little Star Trek heart's going to be happy, right? So, so Crafty wanted to know, as professional coders, do we use tools like ChatGPT to help do things faster? Yes, and sort of, right? Like, ChatGPT tools, yes, absolutely. The one big thing you run into with, especially since I do it in sort of the professional space, and I work for a large retailer, and like, so one thing you don't want to do is put your proprietary code in the world. Like you don't necessarily want to share that, right? And I know, open source but it is what it is in the company that I work for. Like there's a lot of information that I can't put out there. But I can use a tool that is sort of a closed box, right? Like I can use a tool that's isolated from the rest.
Yeah, those companies are gonna be, they're already $billion companies, but like the ones that do it in closed environments are like, that's
I do think that sort of tool like ChatGPT, I do think that's going to really revolutionize sort of the way that we code. We're going to be able to focus more on the functionality of what we're doing and less on the syntax and whether the code smells, like I think we're going to be able to focus in a sort of a better way and become more efficient.
Well, I'm still kind of waiting. For for these projects. I think if I was still writing a lot of like Go APIs, hope ChatGPT would be great at them. But when I've tried to use it so far for like the astronomy stuff, I don't, man, like it just makes up stars. Like it just makes them up. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and then the code in like OpenSCAD, it does not seem to know that language very well. I have tried a little bit with Python and it's definitely more knowledgeable. I think I'm sure it's going to get to the part, like the code that I'm writing now requires a good amount of context, I guess. It's not quite just like connect this data source to that data source, which cool, yeah, ChatGPT would be amazing. But I'm sure we'll get there. But I would love to use it for I would absolutely love to use it for everything. Like that's fine by me.
I do think there's a lot of potential, and actually, honestly, I think a lot of what I'm excited about in that way is that it's a lot. It's like one thing a lot of us say about it's not that I know necessarily more than you, it's that I'm better at Googling, like that sort of mentality, like I'm better at finding what I need, and I feel like that takes the need to be able to find what you're looking for makes it a little easier, like, right? So you become more efficient because you know what you're looking for. You can just type it in and it spits you back a decent answer. So you don't have to be quite as strong in the Google foo as you were before, but you still get those answers in fast. I think that has a lot of potential as sort of us being able to use it as a reference, right? For what we're doing.
I like all the like image AI generators a lot. I'm gonna totally use that stuff in the future. And I really like the like image to STL. I kind of feel like I think Magician did a video on this recently. Like my actual hunch, I'm sure it'll get way past this point, but like I think we are years away from AIs being able to literally intuit all of the context and problems in a space and actually give you an answer that can just go. I think that there's just a lot of context in a problem area that is hard for, like, when we have to spend at companies months communicating on what the needs are, when you're like sitting around and you've got all these people that are like, do we want to do this or do we want to do that? I don't think an AI is going to be great at that. I think that like there's something in there that's actually really hard to just like rationally pinpoint. If you've got a problem that's like, I know what I need an output, oh my gosh, it's going to be incredible for that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think for like the STL models, I saw Magician where it's like, it gives you your first draft, but then you're going to want to go and actually turn it into something functional and usable. I think that's going to happen a lot. But yeah, really convincingly. Like I was using GPT early on when I didn't know astronomy particularly well, and I still don't know it that well. But like, so I wasn't really sure, and I'd be like, I think this isn't right, but I don't know enough to know. And it would take me weeks to be like, oh my God, GPT, you were lying. Like, and I was like, no. Like,
that's sort of part of where some of my issue comes in with the term AI, and like the fact that people don't really understand what it is and where we are in that. And don't get me wrong, we're in amazing places right now. We can do a lot of amazing things with it, but AI is not, machine learning is not there yet. Like we're not to the point where you could, in a not controlled environment, you could get AI to actually, act like a person. Like it doesn't really work that way right now. Like you can in like a controlled test, you can do it in, you can do it in very controlled environments. But when it comes to just getting out here, and I mean, at one point, I don't know if you know IBM's Watson. At one point, IBM had to shut Watson off from the internet because it started cursing at people. Like it started saying ugly things to people, and it was like, oh well, that's too much internet for you, So I think there's a lot of human movement that AI just can't do yet.
My dream for how AI would go, and Crafty, you made me kind of think of this, is I would love for AI to eliminate the need to do like boring, repetitive tasks. Like things that humans don't like to do, and we're not very good at it. Like we do get bored. Like there's some people who are great at it, but a lot of people, the areas where there's human error, because it's like, oh, you're moving this from here to here, or you're doing this thing over and over. If AI can handle that, I think that creates a world where humans can do what they're good at more. Like, and we the best outcome for me would be like, we all don't have to work as hard and we still make money because the AI is doing like the routine hard work, but then we get to control them and we get to say this goes here, this goes where. And then outside of that, we're only working like 10, 20 hours a week and we get to spend our time just as our time. Like that I would love. That is an outcome that like, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get there, but like, I think that's a very viable outcome for us to have happen.
I agree. I agree. It is hard to program skepticism. And it's, there's also, this wide world of information that we have out there, but not all of it is correct, right? Like, and if there's a ton of AI, machine learning is subject. AI will be affected by misinformation. If it's out there on a large scale at large volumes, then AI will be subject to that. I mean, you're going to get misinformation from AI in that situation, So
I think there is an AI that just returns like research papers or it always cites its sources. And I think I did use that AI early on and it did really help me find the astronomy sources where I could get my answers.
Right.
And that was cool. But yeah, I do think like AI making decisions on their own is something that one is scary, but two, I actually think might just be stupid. Like it just might not work well because they don't have the ability to take in contextually where to go. So I think people will try and they will be like, okay, we're gonna let the AI do things and it's gonna run amok, and I think it will just like self-implode, that kind of stuff. That's my optimistic outlook. That, like, using AI to make decisions that ruins the world for all of us probably won't work, and instead it should just do the jobs we don't want to do. So that's what
Exactly. Well, yeah, and Crafty, I'm with you on that as well. Like I think a lot of people they are afraid of AI getting too smart for us, and I'm like, I don't see that happening. I actually see us coming to meet AI where it is. You know what I mean? Like we can't learn about the new problems that AI is going to generate, because it is going to generate new problems, until we're there and it's generating those new problems. Like I think you're right. I think it's going to make us smarter in the long run.
Yeah. And then we're gonna build the tech that we need to find all the various civilizations on other planets. It's just gonna get crazy. It's gonna be really cool. And then all of my little products for how to learn how to read star maps will actually be used to teach people how to fly in space, and that's the end goal. This is how you navigate. You can see how the constellations move. All that stuff can come into play. In that way.
And it is. I mean, it is. That the other thing too is that a lot of it, that's sort of why I don't really like the AI being a buzzword and nobody understanding what machine learning is, because that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about all these different systems. Is not AI as a whole is just a blanket term. We're actually talking a lot about.
And I like this, but you sound like the Apple keynote that they did in like September, where they refused to use the word AI and they only use machine learning. They were like, this is what it is.
Well, yeah, because I feel like when we're talking about this stuff, machine learning makes more sense. Like it's easier to understand what a machine, like we're teaching. The other thing is though that like we are teaching it. Like, I don't know. People are like, oh, it's going to get way past us, but we're teaching it what to do. So how will it get past us? Right? Because the top of its knowledge is the top of our knowledge. Like we're the ones teaching it. We're training it. Right?
Yeah.
So, and we control it. So if it ever does Skynet on us, we can just pull the plug. It'll be fine.
Yeah. That's what.
The thinking machines learn to navigate using spies and these navigators. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's always, people get really scared about it, and I'm like, no, don't, it's not a scary thing. It's a cool thing. Like it's not scary, guys. Like it's only gonna go as far as we take it, right? So like, I don't know, maybe I'm naive. Maybe it will outgrow us one day, but with the current state of things, we're not in danger of that right now. At all.
A lot of worse stuff. I think about that a lot too. I'm like, well, whatever, I'll probably die. It'll be fine. Cool. So Did you figure out your business model for your makerspace, Zoe?
Yeah, we're gonna need to see that. Snap, snap, get to it. Oh, I got more. Wait. Oh yeah, I read those, both of those. I got them. Any other questions from the chat? Wait. Creator is afraid and went.
I don't know what designing's talking about, but I'm with you.
The creator of what was afraid? Wait. I need to know.
I don't know what she's saying, but I agree with her. Oh, Sam, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a nut job though, but yeah.
It's just a little off.
Yeah, he's been off, but I don't know. Personal take. So I've known Sam Altman, not like literally, but like because he runs Y Combinator, and so he's a really big name in the software engineering community. So like if you're in like tech Twitter, he's been coming up for decades, and he gets really idolized. He's sort of like an Elon Musk personality, but like way smaller scale, but niche inside of tech. And personal hunch is that he went for help not because he couldn't control it, but because other companies were building AI competitively faster than he expected them to. And I think he thought he was going to be able to just dominate the market for a long period of time and be like the Google of search engines, but like the Google of AI. And personally, I think he just got pissed that he has a lot of competition.
Yeah, he went to scare people out of it, like
yeah, and have the Senate put regulations in place that would hinder like banks. It would hinder newcomers from coming in, which is not what we want. We definitely do not want one AI company that like runs everything and makes all their decisions themselves. I could be wrong designing, but that's just my read on it because I've seen him a lot and he's definitely kind of a crybaby type of guy. Like that has been commented on for years and years from people who do. He runs like Y Combinator if you look that up, which is really successful, but whatever. I think having more companies generating AI and being competitive with each other will allow more transparency. And I think Sam was pro not having transparency and pro this being my thing. So that's
and I not as a speak out against necessarily having like proprietary code and intellectual property, right? But also I feel like AI will grow the best sort of in the open source communities. Like I feel like that's where we're going to get innovation from. People are going to go and do things that maybe these bigger companies aren't thinking of, and I think we need to make sure that is viable, that they can go and individually, because I mean like in a makerspace or like in any, the more people you can get working on a problem, working to solve a problem, the more diverse ideas you're going to come up with and the more innovative you're going to get. So like I'm a really big fan and a huge proponent of open source being and existing, right? Like I think it needs to exist, and I think it's fantastic for innovation and for sort of prototyping and ideas and all that good stuff. I think the more people we can get, not to say that I'm necessarily against proprietary, but I don't think it should be shut down to that. I don't think it should be limited to larger companies and proprietary software and all that kind of stuff. So
I agree. Oh, cool, designing. Wait, did you write COBOL? Is that what you just said to us? Did that ever happen for you?
I wonder how many of us have had to swim through the COBOL.
There's 3 women here that have all written COBOL. That's like a weird, like.
This is a very
weirdly high percentage of
a very small percentage of IT professionals. We have an even smaller percent, an even smaller demographic represented here. That's crazy. And also designing, we can do one of these. If you want to get in on this, we can do one of these too. I need a new person for February, so hit me up in my DMs if you're interested in doing it.
What a cool experience.
Oh, you're shy.
You are kind of
Oh,
shy,
come
but you
on.
seem anyway.
We'd love to share you with people.
Well, I told you, Crafty, it's the
Yes.
sun and Pluto. I told you the alignment's crazy right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that actually that goes for anybody. I directed at designing, but like anybody who's in here that is a female in technology, send me a PM if you're interested in doing one of these because I definitely need a new person for February, and I'll need a new person every month after that because I'm gonna try to do this once a month at least.
You said PM, like private message. Does that mean you used like forums a lot?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a tell.
Yeah, sorry. It's my age. I guess we all kind of had to go through that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did, but I feel like you just exposed yourself.
I did, totally, definitely did.
Yeah, PHPBB, yeah.
But the board stays. Oh, the beard stays. Oh, yeah. We might be able to pass that off if I don't have anybody. Maybe I'll hit you up, Ruckus, if I don't get any volunteers before then. We'll just pretend. We'll do a pretend.
That's awesome.
Shoot me an aim. Zoid, now you're really.
IRC twisted.
Now you're.
That's the
really.
ultimate.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. AI is a fun and interesting topic to get on and just sort of where we think that's going. Sorry for all the coughing, guys. I'm really if you heard me last night, I sound way better today than I did last night. So.
Oh, did you get COVID?
No, just a head cold. Because why wouldn't I get a head cold right before I do this?
Exactly. Twisted, what server were you on? I'm like, I know what you're talking about. It was. Oh, Fnet. I was on Blitzed. I was on a Harry Potter IRC for a large amount of my years growing up. Dalnet. Okay, I was not that.
Okay, so here's a question that I just thought of that I don't know why I didn't think about it before. Do you play video games?
Oh, yeah. Well, a decent amount, but I always have to sort of structure it because I'm like the person who, if I'm in the wrong headspace, I will play video games straight, like a full-time job type situation. And that's always been hard for me. But I have played a lot of like RPG style type games. My favorite growing up was Kingdom Hearts, and I played that so much, and I made all my siblings just sit there and watch me. And I was like, this is the peak of entertainment. Like, we're gonna see how many times I can beat this game over and over and over, and then I would get like really fast at it. And then I was like, okay, I gotta stop because this is like I won't get anywhere in life if I play video games the whole time, which may or may not have been true. Like, maybe I could have been like a gamer person and like apparently there is a shit ton of money in that now. Right now, recently, I play a lot of like really silly games. So there's this game called like Boomerang Foo. It's like the ones where you can play with friends and they're just like really dumb and they're meant to, like if you have some adult candy and play, that's my favorite kind of video game right now because it's not so addictive that I'm going to sink like 100 hours into it. But it's a lot of fun. So Boomerang Foo is one where you try to kill each other with frisbees, and that's awesome. Or not frisbees, boomerangs. And it's great. But then I have played a lot of Stardew Valley. I like Farming Sims. I'm playing Disney Dreamlight Valley. I wouldn't say I love that game as much, but I'm still playing a lot of hours of it anyway. So those types of games I play a lot. I played a bunch of Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah, so I got a few. So I play a lot of Minecraft.
Yeah, I haven't started Minecraft because that one just is terrifying to me because I would love it. Like it's great. Like it looks great.
Yeah, it's digital Legos essentially. So if you love Legos very much,
no, I can't play that.
But and also like for a long time, and less lately, but a long time I played World of Warcraft a lot. And then The Sims, of course. Not just so The Sims 3 was my jam, and now 4 is great. I like it. They've added a lot to it. You know, when it first came out, it felt very limited, sort of, because I was used to Sims 3 with all of the expansions and all of the stuff, you know, and then I go into Sims 4 and it was like I was stuck in this house and I was like, this is not okay. You guys need to hurry up and bring out the rest of the stuff. Like, but it did get much better. I actually, so yeah, I'm a little, I was a little mean. I'm a little mean to my Sims.
Sure you are. I believe that. I saw a really good TikTok recently. I'll have to see if I can find that again and send it to you. But it was about like the dark patterns of women in video games.
So I would do things like, especially in Sims 3, when I was younger and less wise, I guess. I would do things like buy the house that was in the swamp that was on stilts and take away all the ladders and then slowly remove things that they needed for their, you know, everyday life until they all went crazy and
torturing
all that
Sims?
stuff. Yes.
Good notes. If we ever meet in person, I'm gonna ask you to show me your Sims account, and we'll see how close we get.
It's been, you know, I don't have the Sims 3 anymore. It's gone.
I bet you do. That's a good excuse. I don't buy it. I think
I could probably find it.
It's
It's probably, honestly, the save files are probably still there.
It's a really good strategy, but I'm not falling for it.
Yeah. So, and hi, Devin. Welcome in. But yeah, a lot of that, and I have to be. I'm sort of in the same. It's on a burner laptop. Yeah, exactly. It's
Well, you never get rid of that laptop. You keep that laptop. Everyone does.
but yeah, like, and I'm sort of with you in the same sort of boat on like the reason I don't play WoW as much anymore, and the reason sort of I kind of got out of it, wasn't because I don't like WoW. I do. I think it's wonderful and I would play it. But it's because college sort of pushed me out of it, because I couldn't, when I was going through the semesters, I could not, if I had touched WoW, I'd have failed. Like, there wouldn't be anything else left, you know? Like, so I got to the point where I was not doing it during the semester, and then when it would not be the semester, then I would do it, and then I would, you know, and it was hard to stop doing it when the next semester started, and like, I was like, I need to sort of regulate myself when it comes to this, because I will just sink a million hours in a video game and forsake all of life, for it. So, but yeah, I do play games. I just, it just depends. Like right now, like this is gonna be so stupid. I'm playing Merge Dragons right now just because it's a game I can walk away from. Like,
I think I'm pretty sure I played that before too. It's there when you need it.
Yeah, like, oh, I want to play a game. Okay, I can just do this for an hour and I'm satisfied for a little while, you know. It's like, but also I can walk away, which is the really important bit. So, yeah. Games are fun. But I wonder, so I guess the reason I asked you that is because I sort of wonder if all of us ladies that are in IT and all of us sort of techie ladies we play video games, and like all of us do that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I'm sure really high percentage.
Anybody got any other questions for me or Kaylin? This is really more about Kaylin. Ask her the questions.
Yeah, I can stay for like a half hour more, but that's probably. Then I gotta go make my planets before 7 p.m. So we'll see. If you see the video in 3 hours, that means it was 3 hours, and I can prototype all of them, including the magnets. So
yeah,
that's true.
That's what we'll do. Then we'll call it at 3:30. Right. Nice. We'll hang out for another 30 minutes, and then we'll be good for the day.
I did see Crafty's comment. Yeah, Jack Dorsey also sucks. I think they all kind of suck. I'm very pro tax the billionaires at like 99%. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, that's fine. They've made their money. They're going to be okay. Just tax their income at a million percent.
Well, and you know what? And you know what? Just to push that a little bit further, if I ever become a billionaire, please definitely tax me at
You
99%.
don't need that much money. You're good.
I'm okay.
It's just fine. But yeah, Jack Dorsey, I feel like I saw that, I remember seeing that post too. And it was sort of like, wasn't that like he was sore that he lost Twitter to like Elon and he's all like, I shouldn't have done this. Felt really weird and like egocentrical as well. But yeah.
Well, and here's what we can do, ladies. Just talking specifically to the ladies in IT at the moment. Let's get out there and show the whole world more intelligent and more reasonable IT people. Can we? Because like all of them seem to be going crazy right now. Like the really famous ones seem to be losing it, and we really need to get out there and be like, see, this is where we can shine as women. We can be more. You know,
who's going crazy? I haven't been paying attention, honestly.
I don't know. Elon went nuts.
Oh, the guys have gone crazy. I thought you meant like the women and
No, the guys have gone like the.
I mean, like the really senior one. I think that's what it does, though. You have too much money, too much power, and then you lose your mind because it's just like it's too much.
Yeah.
So we were doing them a favor to tax them 1,000,000%.
And I don't necessarily. That's not to say that it's necessarily a guy issue. I think there's just more guys out there, so they're the ones you see most of the time. But I do think that like if we could get some more females up there in those positions where people can see us, maybe we look a little more reasonable in comparison.
A little less insane volumes as well. So, and I think both of those could help.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if there were women that rich, they'd be just as insane. Like it's just ridiculous.
Probably. That's probably what it is. It's probably nothing to do with. But you know, we could try it out. We never did it before, so let's try. We hide it better. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's all I need you to do. You can be crazy in your own space. Like, just hide it better.
Wait, okay, Ruckus, that's a good question. I have thought about doing like the picture, like the symbols and like putting those online for people to use. So like if it's not like, because I'm very focused on like wanting my products to be like you can go outside and stargaze with them. That's like the thing. But I have thought about honestly, and I saw like a Mystic Mesh. He like followed me, and then a couple weeks later he posted his, and I was like, maybe I should do that too, and post like the keychains with just the symbols on it. But maybe either post them for like people to like download for free personally, or do like a commercial of like couple dollars, or do a Patreon, and it's all like astrology things, but they aren't the constellations. Because I'm not gonna do the constellations because it's too hard to control, and the issue with this kind of work is it's like the whole point, it's accurate, so there's not like it's just correct. Like, so I can't just like do it another way. If somebody like steals all of it, it's like, no, that was it. That's how they look. So I do a lot. I've got like a patent in the process, and I do a lot of copywriting and stuff for that reason. But I have thought about doing like symbol stuff and just using those and making designs for other printers to be able to sell them. And I do have some light ideas for like how to start a business that like I have thought about like how to have these products be well controlled but also have other printers printing them. I've got some ideas, but it's like a not this year thing. This year I'm really focused on just like launching a lot of products for myself. But okay, yeah. Cool. One side be accurate and the other side the symbol. Oh, okay, yeah. Cause so yeah, right now that's not a bad idea. Yeah, one side right now I do this accurate, and then the other side I do is just the name without the symbol. But the symbol will probably people would like that. It does make it more astrology. Like I don't know what balance will work, but I try to like, I'm like, these are astrology signs, but this is astronomically accurate. But cool.
Well, you have the text on the side too, right? So like you do.
Yeah, I can put it on the top.
The front, the back, and then the sides say the actual name of the.
Yeah, the sides say the culture that it's from. So, like, this is a Chinese constellation. But, I mean, I can put whatever I want. I'm actually prototyping. Let me see if I don't know where it is. But I'm prototyping, like, a couples keychain for Valentine's Day. Where it's just, like, the two on top of each other, so to speak. And then I'll probably put, like, an and side. And then on each side, it'll be a little smaller. But I think it's going to be more like your whole hand size. So, it's sort of like a big thing. I don't know. And then like it'll also say, so if you've got like the two cultures, it'll still have the two names. And then this will probably have the, and then you can put your names on the back. I don't know, but we'll see.
Thanks for coming, Crafty. Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, thanks, Crafty.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I have an idea for you, but I'm not going to put it out here because I don't want anybody else doing it before I tell you what it is. But I have an idea I think it would be cool to do maybe in the future. I don't even know. It might not even be practical to do, but I have an idea I just thought about.
Send it to me. Yeah. That's cool.
I will.
I'm using them to like I'm gauging like I've got sort of my like temporary list of what I'll build throughout the year, but a lot of it is like switchable, and I'm gonna see like, you know, as I release things, what else do people request as like, oh, I'd love to see this or love to see that, and then use that to prioritize the future launches. But I don't know, we'll see. Priya sent it to me. I love that.
Yeah, I definitely will because it might work. It might get you thinking in a direction. It's probably the more valuable part of it rather than just the exact thing, you know. For tour, what?
Wait, Twisted, were you not following, buddy?
Oh, no, Crafty. Oh, that's a good point. Hold on. Everybody hold still. Don't leave.
Yeah, Crafty's awesome.
Do not leave. Everybody, if I don't have you, if you don't follow me, I'll follow you back, okay? Do that. I think I have everybody in here now, but I didn't before, so. And definitely, like, if you're interested in doing this with me, definitely reach out to me because I would love to have you, but I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna force you into it and be like, you have to do it. But
maybe designing, like maybe.
Yeah. But I would love to, because like I said, like we all come from different places. We started in different ways. We do different things in the realm of IT. So like I feel like that would be. Oh. I want to find as much as I can about.
Wait, while I was sitting here, I was kind of I finished putting these in just to like, I don't know. It was annoying me that I had like 7 in and I kept looking at it and I was like, I gotta finish inserting them. But this is the, okay, yeah, this one's Aquarius and this one's Capricorn. So this is where like, no, that's not gonna work. If this is the moon and this is the sun, this is where, or no, what is it that's moving? This is Pluto and this is the sun. They're both right here in Capricorn and the sun is inching forward towards Aquarius. And that's kind of what's happening in space. And then Pluto is falling behind. But what's kind of cool is if you look at your birth chart and you have 2 planets that are in the same degree, what that means is like when you were born, so your rising sign means that everything above your rising sign was in the sky when you were born and everything in the bottom half was not visible. So it was like on the other side of the earth. But if you have 2 things that were in the same degree, what that means is if you looked in that direction at the moment you were born, you would see 2 different planets in a line. And I always love to tell people, I always love to look for that because I'm like, that's a really cool thing. Like to have them like, it's like one of those like magical moments that they always talk about in like TV shows. They're like, when the planets all align, then, you know, magic happens. Well, that's like what that one means. So that's one of my favorite things to look for.
Yeah, I think,
yeah, Crafty, or not Crafty, Ruckus, if you ever want me to like read yours, I'll do it. I want to figure out how when I'm doing my lives to like have a tablet or something or my laptop up so that if people want me to read their birth charts, I can just like pull it up and show you. And not that, one, disclaimer, like I don't really believe all of this, but also 2, I'm not like an expert at this at all, but I can do it. Like I can do I can do it for fun. And I like it. And I like explaining it. Wait, okay, DM me it. Or do you want me to do it right now? I don't know, that feels off topic. I won't do it right now. DM it to me.
You know, we're in the last 15 minutes. We're just kind of hanging out, so like you could totally do it. Okay.
Let me get my laptop. I'll be right back. We'll do this. I need a couple more pieces of information. I need where you were born and the time. And yeah, the thing I like about it is sort of like teaching you what it all like means. Like, why would I say certain things? And there's always a reason. My long-term goal is to be able to teach people to like debunk astrologers. So it's like, I don't think your astrologer is very good. Like I want people to you should be able to fact check your astrologer, where fact is like maybe not like a universal fact, but fact is like if you said you I don't know, are really caring, like I should be able to figure out why you said that about me type stuff, which is cool.
He said Everett, Washington, 9:56 a.m.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, no, I do like doing these a lot. I think Spicoli's in here, and Spicoli, we still need to pick a time where we do it not in the live, because I'm just going to have to sit there and think. Because Spicoli has so much going on in his chart. And I was like, okay, I don't know. Very Aries.
I'd have to look. I don't remember. It was at 9.
Let's see. We'll just practice. Really bright. I wonder if I can like.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Let me make it bigger. This is gonna be hard for me to do backwards, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, so like this is your chart. All right, so the first thing that like is noticeable is a balanced chart means you've got a good spread the whole way around your chart. You have a pretty decent like spread, especially in this like top 3 quarters. I'm not sure there's this concept called shapes. I don't know all of them. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but like it means like my first read is that like you've got a decent spread of personality traits. So like some people, myself included, I have like a shit ton in one area and then like a little bit over here, and that's what it means like you don't have a good spread of personality traits, which is in many ways easier to read those charts because it's like, okay, you like this and that, and that's like your whole personality. When there's more of a spread, it's more balanced. It can be a little bit harder to like find focus by Zoid. But you're just kind of in between. But what I did notice is the first thing is you've got down here, it's like your sun's Aries, your moon's Aries, your Mercury's is Aries, and your Venus is Aries. So those are 4 of the biggest personality planets besides the rising. And so basically that says like you are a lot of Aries, like very Aries. And I think earlier when I mentioned someone else was an Aries, you were like, I'm an Aries. So I would expect you to really identify with how they describe an Aries, which is very like, I don't know if you would competitive, and you might not want to say that too much, but Aries is competitive, not in the sense of I want to destroy you. It's more competitive in like, I want to have fun. And so really does like to like, I want to win, but like, I don't want to ruin your life while we do it. Some signs are a little bit more competitive in a harsh way. Like Scorpio is a little bit more nice. You made the face before I even said it. If Scorpio is competitive, they do in fact mean I want to beat you and I want it to sting so hard that like your children feel it type vibes. Like that's like the competitiveness of Scorpio. Aries is like, I just wanted to have some fun and win type situation. So I have noticed that sometimes, but Aries has like the biggest stereotype of competition. So I have noticed that sometimes people with Aries will be like, I'm not that competitive. And that's actually accurate. Like it doesn't mean you want to like ruin people's lives. That's a different signs traits. So Aries, having a lot of Aries is actually quite fun. Your chart has like a lot of fun energy in here. Like a lot of like, your rising sign is Gemini. Gemini is the sign that likes to learn things. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've got a lot of fun energy. But I think indecisive. And that would probably be where I would expect you to have the hardest time. And like finding a focus and sticking with it and having the confidence to be like, I should keep going with this might be a little harder. That'd be my expectation based on this chart. Because so Aries likes competitive, Aries likes to do things, but Aries also kind of wants like faster wins. So, and Gemini, where you've got this like rising sign that's really important, likes to learn a lot of things, but they mean a lot of things. So it's like, I want to learn this, I want to learn that, I want to learn this other thing. And yeah, competitive, but I'll pull back. Basically, that's ultra competitive. You're like, I just don't even want to lose. Like, I don't even want the option of losing. So that is definitely still competitive. But you could argue intelligent competitive. but that often is like a topic for Aries, like their level of like thinking about that. Whereas like other signs, like I don't have any Aries, I have very little Scorpio. I'm not really thinking about the win. Like that doesn't cross my mind a lot. I'll only think about it when I'm like, why won't this person let it go? Like, you know, I am competitive in some areas, but it's not like I don't think about it like that. And I very rarely come that way in terms of what I'm thinking about every day. But what I see here actually is you've got like a lot of the Aries and Gemini stands out the most immediately. These signs over here are your further out planets. So the further out a planet is from the Earth, the less impact it has on your core personality. And that's like part of another thing that I find cool where I'm like, oh, it's all like relative, still in space. These signs are a lot more of your core, closer planets to the Earth that pop up. Let me double check. Yep. Doesn't mean these aren't important. Scorpio. Sometimes there's stuff that comes up that I guess I'll just DM you, but not all of it's like live safe. But the major thing that comes up is you've got like a lot of creativity, wants to have fun, is competitive, likes to learn things, is probably going to have a hard time sticking with stuff, partially because your attention is diverted, but also because you might feel nervous about it. Like, is this dumb? Like, should I be doing this? So I don't know, maybe you've worked through this in your life, I don't already, but like learning to have some more confidence in yourself will enable more follow through. And that would be like a really good, like they talk in astrology, like your soul would really like that. That would be like your soul maturing type thing. But like off the bat, your soul wouldn't naturally act that way. Your soul would be a little bit more, like Gemini is the sign of anxiety. I always feel a little bad like with Gemini placements. I've got placements too, but if I see a lot of Gemini, I'm like, well, that's a bummer. Like that's just straight anxiety like that. And it's your rising sign. You've got some pretty big placements in Gemini. So that is where I'm like, that's going to sit there. And the fact that you have Taurus energy as well, which is good because Taurus does like follow through, but it's not as strong of placements. So that actually kind of increases the anxiety because there's going to be a part of you that really wants to follow through and finish your projects. But like Aries is sort of like, yeah, okay, well, this isn't fun anymore, so I don't want to do it anymore. And Gemini is like, there's like 8 other things I could do. And Gemini is the sign that wants to do everything and wants to finish everything, and you can't do both of those things at the same time. So that's where when they talk about Gemini as twins and they say Gemini is like two-faced, it's often not that they're two-faced like trying to like change their mind. It's that literally their mind is in 2 places at once always. So they're genuinely changing it. Like it's not like I'm trying to trick you. It's not like I'm trying to pull one over on you. It's literally just this like constant like, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that, maybe I'll do this other thing. And then on constant, they remember the to-do list of everything they didn't do. So it does kind of suck as like a sign, if I'm honest. But it's a very smart sign if you like figure out how to work with it. It's a very intelligent sign. But yeah, Aries doesn't help Gemini out. Aries sort of encourages Gemini. Aries is sort of like, yeah, let's take action. And now I'm bored. So that would be like, that's my quick read. We could definitely go longer and talk about like more details, especially on the other side here. You've got these like lines and balancing acts, particularly when it comes to like innovation and creativity. Let me double check. Is that Neptune or is that, I always mix up Neptune and Uranus's signs. Yeah, that's Neptune. Okay. So Neptune is imagination and like, not imagination and creativity. It's sort of like a whimsical like sign of sorts. And you've got this red line with your core identity, which is the sun. That's your Aries. So red is not good. But red means it's like, thanks, Megan Michael. Now we're just doing readings a little bit because I can always do readings. And I'm always like, I don't know, this is boring. I won't do it. And then I get started and I'm like, okay, let's go forever on this. But it's really fun.
I felt like it was a good thing to just end with, sort of a light thing to end with.
In my long-term goals of getting girls into 3D printing and guys into astrology TikTok, this will fit right in there. But okay, the other thing I'll bring up about your other chart here is you've got this red line between your sun and Neptune, and red means like internal conflict, like they don't mesh well with each other. So your sun is in Aries, which we talked, it's like the competitive, likes to try things, probably doesn't stick with it. Capricorn is in Neptune, which is not a good placement. So Capricorn is the workhorse. Like it just wants to work. It's like the it's like the man. Like let's just do all the worky things. I have a lot of Capricorn in me, to be honest. Hence the like, I really like astrology, and then I'll sink like 3,000 hours into working on like the astrology math and everything. That's like kind of more Capricorn. It's just like, I'll just go work forever. Interestingly, you have Neptune in the Capricorn sign. That's not like, Neptune doesn't like being in Capricorn because Neptune's more of like a Pisces. It's more of like a creative artist vibe, not a hard, let's make money to make money type vibe. Oh, where I said the money for, I was like, oh, I'll get a paycheck when I'm a programmer. Like that was Capricorn energy of me, where I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. Like it's like I hate this, but I'm gonna keep doing it. This red line to me would symbolize like if you find more of a balance between working hard, having fun, being competitive, and creativity. Those are hard things to find a balance in. But this would be saying your soul is trying to find a balance there. Like working hard in a way that is a creative outlet for you and sticking with it, but keeping it playful. Like that's like Aries and Capricorn. And if you find that kind of balance, that's an interesting line that I would look at. And like, that's like, I'm like, there's something maybe there. But that's kind of what I got into astrology for too. My astrology reading from like that I would get, and then I was like, what? Was kind of like, oh, you have tons of energy. You're really bubbly. You like to do all these things. You're also kind of a jerk. And like, if people get in your way, you get very frustrated, and you're going to be, it got really specific. It was like, you're going to be interested in technology, large groups, big corporations. They like listed a bunch of things, and this was only a couple years ago. So this was like after I did Women Who Code and grew it to like 3,000 members. This was like, you know, I had been doing software engineering for like a decade, doing distributed systems. I worked in a really large bank. I was like, what? Like, that's like really specific.
Like how? How do you know?
Yeah. And the way a lot of the good astrologers will do it is like, you just give them their information, and then they will do a recording for you, and they don't know anything about you. Like you don't write any information. You don't give any context. And so I did a couple, and I did like 3, and like they all said very similar things. And I was like, this is wild. How you're like, some of it was really specific too. They could do like the years when certain events happened based on the degrees of the signs. I don't know how to do that stuff. So I don't know. I mostly don't think this is real, but sometimes I am a little bit like, what? Like, that's weird.
Like it comes far too close to reality a lot.
But I have used it. So my chart, and yours too, actually, like, you can fake being an extrovert. Yeah. That Aries sun is faking being an extrovert, and actually your Gemini side too, is a lot of that. But then getting really tired. That's Taurus, and Capricorn is less extroverted than people expect it to be. It's Scorpio. You've got a decent play of Scorpio stuff too. So actually, you probably are a little bit. Like, watch the kids of your enemies. There is some vibes there still for you, because you do actually have some balancing things down to Scorpio. But I gotta tell you that a person with Scorpio traits, that like, it's their dominant thing.
I have to tell you, when you started saying it, I knew exactly who you were talking about. I was like,
coming for you, and I was like, oh, she already knows. I was like, oh, you're a Scorpio.
Well, that's one of those things, right? Like, that's one of those things that a lot of people know, that like if you're a Scorpio, you're very likely to be highly competitive, and not necessarily always in the fun way.
No, like actually rarely in the fun way. Like very, very rarely.
I actually pride myself on the amount I've developed.
Yeah.
Because I've developed sort of
a good time.
Don't get me wrong, I still like to win. It's still a thing. But like I've developed myself away a little bit from the like your children will feel this burn, like you that level. Like I've kind of like I don't really want to be mean like that. Like, part of me doesn't, and maybe I should have you do one of these for me, so you can tell me why my brain was like, that's not nice. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah, you probably do some other stuff. Yeah, full score. Like, if you have a ton, I have some friends. You can still evolve even if you have, but I have some friends with, like, you know, they call them stelliums, where it's a lot in one. You might have an Aries stellium. Ruckus. I think, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're like a lot of Aries, is what that means. Anyway, so these are like the patterns. Some of them kind of hard to read upside down. What was that? Was it T square, rectangle, yod? I don't know what a yod is. You have a yod 3 times. You got a lot of patterns. Okay, technically this didn't put the stellium on there because, I mean, the sun and moon aren't planets, and so astrologers do know that. But I would kind of count that as a stellium. So you have sun, moon, Mercury, and Venus. So like Mercury and Venus are planets, and the stellium rule is 3 planets, 3 of the inner planets. But because you have your sun and moon, I would be like it's a stellium.
Ruckus, I think that has to do with your Scorpio bits.
Oh, that does have to do a little bit more with your Scorpio, but that's Scorpio energy. Yeah, as I look at your
For real,
Scorpio,
for real.
you do have a good amount of aspects. And like, okay, so the moon is emotions. You hear that a lot in literature. Like the moon's a woman and it's emotion. That is what it means in astrology. So your moon is in Aries, and then it's got a yellow line, which is like a more neutral color, to your Scorpio in Saturn. So that means like, yeah. So Saturn is the karma planet. So it is karmic energy. It is not ruled by Scorpio, but it has Scorpio-like energy. And it's basically the like, what are the F around and find out, FAAFF, whatever. I don't know what I can say on TikTok, but it's that energy. Like find out. And so what you just said, your moon being emotional and kind of harmonizing with your Saturn being like, your Saturn Scorpio being like, you'll find out if you like emotionally wrong me or my friends. That's like right there. That's what that line is. And that's what I was like, oh, it's not, you're not too serious. And then as I looked at your chart more, I was like, but like sometimes you might be really serious.
Yeah, twisted. FAFO. FAFO.
Another thing that made me interested in astrology is I have a lot of Scorpio and Leo friends. And I always was like, aren't they both like psycho? And it turns out like every sign is psycho. Like they're all psycho in their own ways. But because I have Aquarius and Capricorn, Aquarius attracts Leo energy a lot, and Capricorn and Scorpio get along great too. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Cause I would, when I got into it, I'd ask all my friends, like, what are you? And it just kept happening. And I was like, that's weird. Like, why is everybody? I've got like no Pisces friends. Like,
No.
like,
Here's the question: Is it odd and interesting that I'm Scorpio and my husband's a Leo? Is that a weird combination?
Yeah, I mean it's not the most common, but the whole issue with like why I think one of the reasons why astrology is picking back up is because of like the tech actually has made it easier to read your whole birth chart. Yeah. So like in the 80s and 90s, yeah, Gemini, that makes perfect sense for you, Ruckus. That's a great pairing. One, because Aries and Gemini, face value, just get along great. But because you've got a rising in Gemini, it's like, this is where your deeper chart, like, can show more. So like your husband's moon might be in Scorpio. And so then maybe Leo and Scorpio don't get along, like, they don't get along poorly, but like it's intense energy. That is intense energy. There might be other placements that make it work really well. But a nice thing about Leo, actually, coming back to some of your earlier stories, Leos love having attention on them. They love that. They do think that's great. But they also love to shine that onto their family members and closest friends. So they're like, that's like sort of one of the lesser known things. Like Leo, they're like, oh, you're like a egotistical narcissist or whatever. That's just like the negative side of Leo. The positive side is like they want everybody to feel as much light as them. So when he was like, you got to go to school, like I'm ready for you to do that, that's actually very Leo energy, to be like super ready to pump up your partner. But yeah, I'd have to see both of those charts, because my guess is like the best relationship markers are actually the moon sign, your rising sign, and your Venus sign. So those are the ones that you really look at, which is why the whole like gimmicky horoscope, oh, you're this sign and that sign, like it's such bogus, because you're like, that doesn't even like, whether it's true or not, but like if you actually cared, it's like really not correct according to like what an astrologer would do. So do Leos get along great with a lot of people actually? Aquarius is. So that's where I thought Leos, like, I'm like, nobody likes Leos. And then I started asking all my friends, and like a lot of them were Leos. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And then I learned more, and I was like, oh, it's fine. It's like a lot.
Not quite as intense as it is made out to be. Like Leos are not No, don't get me wrong. You can meet any but people from any sign that are insufferable, but Leos like have sort of that bad rap for being insufferable, and they're really not any worse than anybody else.
No.
They're just different.
And it is like it is, although I mean Leos do love themselves in a way that makes it easy to make fun of. like a lot of Leos I'm like, okay, like you're like very into it. But often if you see a Leo that's insufferable, it's more so like Ruckus has 4 Aries signs. Aries is not a particularly insufferable sign. But like 4 of these placements in Leo might be insufferable. Like that might be tough. That might be like,
Right.
okay.
I hate to do this because we're having so much fun, and it's a lot of this has been great. But it is like it is 3:35, and I want you to go do the things that you're supposed to be getting done. So,
But this is awesome.
so I don't want to keep you, but okay. So
Derail.
for the end of the live, anybody who's in here is not following Kaylin, definitely go follow Kaylin. Go take a look at all of her astrology, astronomy, all that stuff is really cool. Go do that and look at all her stuff. And then if you're not following here, make sure you do that too. That way you can see these when they come up. And we love you all for coming and hanging out with us. And I've had a really fun time, Kaylin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see y'all later.
All right. Thanks. All right, everybody. I'm also going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Definitely make sure you come hang out at the next one. I'm sure we'll have somebody that's super awesome. You'll see those videos, okay? Okay. Bye, guys.